Romanian Carpathians. Vast in landscape, rich in nature, varied in terrain. Home to one of the last adventures on two wheels. Home to the world's most feared, most unforgiving, most revered enduro rally. That delivers once more.
And Red Bull Romaniacs is off to an unbelievable start. The big question, can Lettenbichler finally win it all?
Red Bull Romaniacs Off-Road Day 4 starts now.
Welcome to Transylvania, where the mother of all enduros is ready to suck the life out of some of the world's best riders. This is one of the biggest challenges in all of enduro, and it will punish mind, body, and bike. Very pleased to say I'm joined by Paul Bolton, the privateer who strikes fear into the hearts of the factory riders when he lines up on the start line. How many times have you done this race?
Yeah, I've been doing this race in 2007. It took me 3 times to crack it finally, but it's one of my favourite races of the year.
It is one of the biggest challenges, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about man and machine. You know, you've got to look after your bike, you've got to look after your body, you've got to look after your team, because if you don't have a good team, then you've no chance.
Now, we've got an amazing little clip here of, I think it's you from last year, trying to make one big climb.
I wondered when this was going to come out.
It's the look on his face. Watch this now. This is absolute gold. If you could bottle disappointment... I'm sorry to laugh at you. How long had it taken you to get up there?
Literally, I'd been pushing up that hill for about 20 minutes, so it was one of the sections that had been really cut out, and I just got to the point where I was literally up. I just put my foot on the side there, slipped on a little tree root with my little legs, and off the bike went, and I made a little lame effort of trying to grab it, but the thing that's going through my mind now is what's wrong with the bike when I get to it.
It's a testament to how much of a gentleman you are that there was no swearing, shouting, screaming or foot stamping.
No, exactly, but you, literally, Ed, you should have seen the cameraman's eyes. It's like he'd struck gold. He was so happy and I was so disappointed.
How long did it take you to get back up?
Again, but a lot of the guys that were there actually felt a bit sorry for me, so it was about 10 minutes on the way back up because a few people helped.
But that's what Romaniacs is all about, isn't it? Just never giving up.
Exactly, you can't give up. You know, you've got the prologue, you've got to get through that, and you've got 4 days in the Carpathian mountains that are just going to test every part of your body.
OK, well, we're live for the first time ever from day 4 of the off-road, and we can take a closer look at this stage now. They wind their way out of the start and up into the Carpathian mountains, and for us on the show, this is 123 kilometres, and we can't camera all of it, but we've got cameras from antifreeze and ventilator onwards. They're going to cover the race live into the finish here, but, Paul, this is critical. They've decided not to race antifreeze because of this weather.
Yeah, the weather's obviously played a big part in some of the racing this year, and a really good move by pulling it. This is the test rider here, testing it to see if it's possible. He's probably one of the track marshals that I know very well, and they're all really good riders. So if they can't do it fresh, then the riders who are finished after all these racing are going to struggle as well.
Yeah, well, we've got 4 classes of rider out on this course today. We've got the Iron, who are the very talented weekend warriors. We've got the Bronze class, who are the advanced riders. We've got the Silver, who are the experts and privateers. And then there's the Gold class, who are the elite level, the professionals. And they set off this morning at 7 a.m.
Yeah, it's a long day for them guys. It's the weather's going to be a big problem, but you know, you can see them here in the earlier stages of the race, and we'll see who's got it in him. You know, it was Jarvis setting off 3rd, Gomez 2nd, and then Manny was heading out front. So the guys in 2nd and 3rd have got a good advantage because there's some tyre tracks laid, but then Manny's got the maximum grip. So let's see how the day pans out.
It's a trade-off, isn't it, all of the time? Do you want fresh track or do you want grip? So we've got the standings after day 3 that we can take a quick look at now, and it's tight at the top. So Manny Lettenbichler, Alfredo Gomez, Graham Jarvis, just over 4 minutes separating those three. Mario Roman, critically, 20 minutes off the pace. Tadej Blazusiak, 30 minutes off the pace. Do you see this as a three-horse race?
Yeah, absolutely, Ed. It is the three-horse race, but, you know, it is Red Bull Maniacs. The weather is what it is, and, you know, a 30-minute gap can be a bike problem or something like that. It's not over until the fat lady sings.
You only need to get bogged somewhere, but that 4 minutes is nothing, is it?
Exactly. You know, 4 minutes in this game is absolutely nothing. Half an hour is nothing in these hard enduros as well. So, yeah, but the guys at the front are going to be pushing. It's all out. It's all to play for, and they don't want to leave anything in the tanks.
OK, it's the 5th stop of the World Enduro Super Series. 4 stops so far. Excel Lagares, Treff, Erzberg, and then Hispania. This is what the standings look like coming into Romaniacs. Graham Jarvis, 2 wins and a 4th in Excel Lagares, put him in the top spot. Manny Lettenbichler hasn't taken a win yet, Paul, but he's been consistent throughout.
Exactly. Manny's been, you know, missed a 2nd place. I'm sure he wants to crack that win, you know, and he's had wins in the past, but not in a WESS series. So if he does crack a win, he's just going to go into overload confidence mode, and let's see if he can take the whole championship. OK,
well, we've got another standings now that we've mocked up from yesterday's finishing results. So the same 4 riders are all in the mix there. Gomez, Roman, Jarvis and Lettenbichler, but they're in a different order. This is what it would look like if it finished the same way it did yesterday. And Lettenbichler is critically up there in the top spot.
Yeah, look at that. Look how close it is. And, you know, what's interesting is Jarvis has opted to miss a couple of the faster races. So is he going to be gutted that he missed those races? Is it going to be that close by the end of Getson Rodeo?
One of the big things for me, though, Daryl Curtis said this earlier in the week at the prologue, whoever wins here is going to have the momentum to move on. If Manny Lettenbichler can take the win, it's going to be huge for him.
Absolutely. This race is the pivotal point in the series for sure, because so much can happen. You know, it is 4 days, it's in the mountains, we've got all kinds of different things that can go wrong, and you've just got to make it to the finish and salvage as many points as you can, and if you can walk away with a win, you're only going to get more momentum towards the end of the season.
OK, well, we'll see if Manny Lettenbichler can do it later on in the show. Right now, though, we sat all of the gold class riders down before day 4 of the off-road to find out how they felt about this stage.
Yeah, it's the final day, 3rd position, 4 some minutes behind, so, you know, it's a bit of a tall order, but still in with a chance.
Sure, anything can happen. We are all very close, so if I chase them, it will be a bit easier for me, but first have to chase them. So let's see how the days goes, and hopefully I can have a good pace and make it happen.
I'm super excited. It's the last day, and I will try my best. I'm leading now, so I will try my best to be in front and nobody's catching me. I'm starting out first, so I have to have a good ride out there.
Yeah, just to be finisher of Red Bull Romaniacs is a very good feeling, because it's the toughest race of the season so far, 5 days racing, and yeah, it feels amazing. Not even the result, just feeling is a big achievement.
Well, Mario Roman hitting the nail on the head, especially with this inclement weather that's moved in this morning. Just finishing here is going to be an accomplishment.
Absolutely, and it doesn't matter which class you're in. You know, you're here for that finisher's medal, and it's so important for you in your life.
Now, we saw Manny Lettenbichler there. He's leading coming into day 4. We went and saw him last night at his van, and I thought he looked quite relaxed.
Yeah, he did. He did look a bit relaxed, but he was for sure seeing his son, you know, take the win on Red Bull Romaniacs is going to be a massive thing. And they were just there prepping the bike. Manny was off getting a massage, wasn't he? And yeah, it was imagine 10-year anniversary for Letty. So he won it 10 years ago. Let's see if Manny can do it.
That will be huge. That will be an emotional moment for the Lettenbichlers if we see history repeated 10 years apart. Right now, though, we're going to take a look back at how Romaniacs started on Tuesday with the prologue.
To get through the first day clean, you need to conquer the obstacles of the prologue. Early in the day, amateurs take to the speedy 700-meter-long track. As the qualifier rounds continue for silver and gold classes, competitors gun it over 130 tons of stone. 90 tons of logs, and 350 truck tires. The mastermind behind this track is builder Andy Fazekas. Later in the day, the 35 qualified competitors in gold, silver, and bronze move on to the prologue finals. Hard Enduro's best have 10 minutes plus 1 lap to finish the prologue.
So we're here at the start of the prologue. It's going to be physical because there's not really any rest on the track, and you know, just try and get out of here healthy.
Taddy Blazusiak takes the lead off the start. Pack bottlenecks. Blazusiak breaks away, followed by Bull. In lap 2, Wade Young overtakes second from Bull. 2 minutes in, Bull loses third to Paul Terrace over a wooden obstacle. And at the narrow zigzag, Bull also gets passed by Johnny Walker and drops to fifth. Three and a half minutes into the race, Terrace takes the outside line around a treacherous tire section. He's slower than Walker, who's able to steal third position. Up front, Young passes Blazusiak for first. A minute later, they're neck and neck past back markers. Blazusiak comes out on top. In the battle for third, Johnny gets blocked by a pileup. And Terrace takes back the position before smacking into a log, allowing Walker to reclaim third. Wade Young holds steady in second, but a crash changes the race for the 2018 Romaniacs champ. Post-crash, he starts to struggle on the course, losing position after position. The final laps of the race, Blazusiak is unstoppable until he gets beaten by the boulders. Can number 3 Walker and number 19 Terrace battling for second catch him? Not a chance. Blazusiak recovers quickly and is able to hold on to his lead, taking top spot at prologue. Johnny Walker is second, Paul Terrace is third.
We won, you know, I had a good start. Me and Billy, I don't know, he messed up, and then I just pulled a pretty good gap. Not that I crossed, but I was just more smooth, you know, like choosing the right lines and making short. So yeah, stoked on the win, and it's cool to win with quite a big gap, so it makes it actually even more special.
Here's your final results. Last year's prologue winner Bolt had to settle for 5th, and overall leader Graham Jarvis ends up 7th, and Mara Roman takes 8th. The winner gets to pick their starting position at the Day 1 off-road. Typically, they choose to start second or third, as few riders want to be first to tackle the obstacles and difficult sections on the track of the first off-road day.
Taddy Blazusiak looking very excited about that win.
Yeah, he was for sure. But you know what? It's really good for Taddy. He's been working hard. You know, he come out of retirement and the level has gone up, but he's going with it and he's looking for a win, and that was good. And hopefully it can give him really good confidence to finish this race finally, because it's his 3rd time here and he's not finished it twice.
You did the same, didn't you?
Exactly. 3rd time was a charm, thank goodness.
We just saw it there as well. There's a lot of significance on your finishing position, and that was why Paul and Johnny battled so hard for 2nd and 3rd.
Exactly. So Johnny was right on the money there. He wasn't going to settle for 3rd. He would have actually dropped back to 4th if it wasn't the case, but luckily he just jumped in front of Paul, so that meant that 3rd place guy gets to last choice for off-road Day 1 starting order. So Taddy gets first pick, so for sure you're going to go 3rd, get some tyre tracks. Johnny chose 2nd, he was 2nd anyway, and then Paul Terrace led it out in the start.
Yeah. Okay, well, now it's time to have a look at exactly how you put a rally of this scale together. Martin Freinademetz is the mastermind, or some might say sadist, behind it. 5 days of racing, and it takes you through some very unique terrain, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, and it has got some of the most beautiful riding. It's El Primo, the traction here. You've got the paradise of enduro. I've ridden some places around the world, luckily, thank goodness, but you know, this place for me is one of my favourite places to ride.
Okay, we can take a quick look now. After that, 123 kilometres, the first of the off-road days, and it didn't go lightly on the riders.
India.
The smell of champagne faded away fast for the prologue winner, Tadej Blazusiak, on off-road day one. But the struggle is part of the Romaniacs' game for all classes combined. The 97-kilometer silver class track is the shortest of the day, but very intense with a few brutal technical sections like Empty Yourself and the Cross Trail. Similarly, the 114-kilometer bronze class track is very demanding right after the start, leading into a challenging uphill. The gold class route for the day is short, but has it all. It's a short but intense day featuring signature sections, Titanic, Impossible, and Damn Damn. Estimated ride time is 5 hours with a maximum time limit of 10 hours. First to hit the course is Spain's Polteras. Three minutes later, Brit Johnny Walker. Romaniacs prologue winner Tadej Blazusiak strategically picked to start third. He's hoping to avoid mistakes Walker and Terrace might make as the first riders on the course. The frontrunners, Blazusiak, Terrace, and Walker, jockey for position for the first hour and a half. Then they're overtaken by Graham Jarvis and Manuel Lettenbichler. Last year's Red Bull Romaniacs winner Wade Young is struggling at the start of the day, over a minute and a half back from the leader. Jarvis gets the fastest times at the first two checkpoints. In true rally style, this race is about who accumulates the fastest combined times between all checkpoints, not who crosses the finish line first. Almost 3 hours into the race, and Wade Young is now challenging Jarvis for the fastest time. In third, Manuel Lettenbichler is only 10 seconds behind. Further back, 2018 WESS champion Billy Bolt is sitting in 11th. Then things get worse.
I can't ride it.
He goes down in a section known as Titanic. He broke his subframe on his bike. Coming into the service point, the Husqvarna team quickly moved to fix the problem.
Billy, he went into this season without preparation. I mean, he started straight after his injury without training, and it's like we have these tough races. These are the extreme races and the long races. So for him, it's for sure difficult.
The service point stops at Red Bull Romaniacs are a mandatory 20 minutes. Riders take the time to rehydrate, refuel, and rethink their strategy. Fellow Brit Graham Jarvis is having better luck, but it hasn't been easy.
No, I just caught, started off in 7th, caught a few of the guys up, so pretty good, but they held. Once I caught them up, they held.
The silent assassin is the first to leave. He's followed a second later by Manuel Lettenbichler, then Tadej Blazusiak. 4 hours into the race, Jarvis loses the lead over Lettenbichler until the KTM rider struggles up a steep incline and loses traction on the loose dirt, allowing number 15, Graham Jarvis, and number 16, Tadej Blazusiak, to pass. Plowing into a hill stops prologue winner Blazusiak from catching up to Jarvis. He continues on, but realizes something is wrong. He's broken his fuel injection pipe. He chucks the bike out of frustration and tries to fix it. He's lost over 14 minutes. Polteras stops to lend a hand.
Well, let's see if this is gonna work. I don't think we will.
In the front, 44-year-old Graham Jarvis continues his WESS hot streak, taking fastest time at the day one off-road. Wade Young makes up time after a weak start to come in second, and Manuel Lettenbichler is only 2 minutes back in third.
So I went through phases, getting a little bit tired, and I perked up a little bit, and then riding with Manny and Gomez. So it was pretty good. Got a good rhythm. It was good to catch them early on, and then they just kept a good pace, which I was happy just.
Here are the standings after a challenging off-road day one. The top 5 are separated by less than 4 minutes.
Well, Graham Jarvis, the king of the poker face and understatement, taking out the first day. How did he do it? What was his secret?
As always, Jarvis goes all in on the first day. It's normally the hardest day of Red Bull Romaniacs, but the traction was there. He could save his energy and ride how he rides, and literally he's not making any mistakes. You know, he's not necessarily the fastest guy on the track in every point, but he's just making them points all the time, making them uphills first time, and that's how he does it. That's how he saves his energy.
Yeah, the big challenge is pacing himself for this rally, but one of the most unique elements of the Red Bull Romaniacs is the fact that it's such a grand scale of race, 123 kilometres on that first day, and you can't do that off marshals and remembering a track. You have to have assistance, and that comes in the shape of a GPS.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you need one of these little handheld devices. So it's one of the little GPSs like this. This is actually the one I used last year, and you've got a few little things. You need to know, for one, how to turn it on and off. because these little things have a tendency to just, with the vibrations from the bike, etc., they can turn themselves off. So I actually put some extra bits in just to press the batteries a bit further in. You need to know how to zoom in, zoom out, load the tracks in or out.
But some people ride too, don't they?
Exactly. So that is when you're a bit more experienced, and that's for technical riding. You would have it zoomed in. So on these toggle buttons at the side, so you'd have it set at, let's say, 80 or 120. And then for faster riding, you'd have it zoomed out, so you'd see more on screen. So you could be seeing the tracks coming up where you might be a sharp left turn, and you can use that to your advantage as well.
It adds another whole layer to the riding here. It's another whole skill set you've got to master if you want to do well at Red Bull Romaniacs. Now, it's not just Paul and I taking you through today. We've also got Caroline de Moraes out in the field.
I'm here at the last service point of the competition. This is where the riders have a mandatory 20-minute stop where they have to rest, they have to eat, and of course they need to speak to their mechanics about getting any last-minute repairs or solutions for any bike problems that they've had. All of the teams and crews got here bright and early. They've set up food, they've set up camp, and they're just waiting to speak to their riders to sort out any issues that they'll have accordingly. And of course, the weather conditions have already changed from when the riders set off. So the rain, the mud, it's all going to be in their way.
Yeah, it started raining like maybe half an hour ago, and it was like super cold. The uphill's getting really slippery, and then it's just so wet out there. So we have to ride like really smooth just to get up to this all these uphills. But yeah, I will try my best. The other guys riding also good today. What I see now, how many riders are already in the pits. So I try my best until the finish. More I can't do.
Alfredo, talk me through your morning.
Well, it was tough, very slippery. I'm not very used to these conditions, but quite okay. I expect that I was more on the back, but looking the times, I'm not that far, so still leading and trying to enjoy the day as much as I can.
I mean, yeah, you're not used to the weather conditions. It's drastically changed from yesterday. How bad was the mud and the wet out there?
It's a lot of mud now. It's raining hard, and the last hour was raining also. So every hill climb, especially going down, is very slippery, a bit dangerous. But all in all, is good.
What's the strategy so that you can maintain the lead?
Just keep going like it is.
Have you eaten? Have you rested?
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, listen, best of luck. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
¿Tienes la pastilla? Una, saca una sola. We're born in these conditions in England, so it's playing into our hands at the moment, and Alfredo's losing a little bit of time to Graham now, so it's all to play for the finish.
And he's won it 6 times. He's known as the king of the Carpathians. Do you think this could be the 7th win?
Yeah, I hope so. It's looking good for us to have the 7th win this year, as long as everything stays together and he keeps it on track.
Did you talk strategy and have a little prep talk with him before he left?
Yeah, I was telling him he's got the guys nervous because of the conditions and he's pulling time on everybody. So just keep the pressure on, don't show any weakness for the guys and let them crumble.
He's still in a great position overall.
Yeah, I think overall now we'll be in 2nd position, I hope, or roughly around about there, and just needs to take some time out of Gomez now to make sure. that we could get to the finish for first.
And lastly, were there any issues with the bike?
No, the bike's perfect. He was quite kind with the bike, just a little bit dirty, that's all.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. The top riders have left the service point. They're rested, they're fed, and their bikes have been maintained and repaired. They came in quite quick succession. I managed to speak to Manny, who felt confident, and Alfredo. But this is enduro racing, so anything can happen. I will keep bringing you updates. The conditions are super muddy, as you can see. I'm getting it in my face. I'll keep bringing you all of the updates, especially the best stories from our amateur riders.
Thanks, Caroline. A couple of spoilers in there, but Damo looked pretty confident, Graham's mechanic.
Yeah, Damo's, you know, he susses this thing out. He's been around, obviously, since Jarvis started winning a lot of stuff. Damo's right there behind him, and he knows him inside out, literally. He's got this. He knows he's got this, and Damo was super confident that Graham could do it. So let's see what happens.
OK, let's take a look at the results as they came into that checkpoint. These are the first results we've seen from today. So who's in the lead? It started out this morning with Manny Lettenbichler in first. Alfredo Gomez has turned him over by 1:24. A full switch. It was 1:15 behind earlier. And then you got Graham Jarvis in third, just 1:52 back from Alfredo Gomez. So only 28 seconds behind Manny Lettenbichler. That is so tight.
It's so tight, yeah, exactly. And you know what's interesting there? Jarvis has closed that 4-minute gap. He's halved it. So he's closing down and he's using them. He's trying to reel them in like a good fishing line. So we'll see what he can do. And I think he can do it, especially with these conditions. Like Damo said, he's rattling the other riders. But, you know, if anyone can do it, it's him.
OK, can Alfredo Gomez handle the pressure? We'll be finding out very soon. Right now, though, we're going to take a look back at off-road day 2.
The weather looks like it's about to take a turn for the worse at the Day 2 off-road. Riders prepare for the heavy rain and nurse battered bodies from the previous day's race.
I literally took off and made a right turn, went back the straight. We're on a railway track and I slammed my foot in between the bike and the concrete, fracturing my pinky side of my foot. I'm hoping that I can get warm and the foot seems to be okay and just get on back.
I'm starting first, obviously, so then Wade's 3 minutes behind. Yesterday it was really dry, so lots of grip everywhere, so a little bit of rain could just change things up today.
Today's off-road is called Decibel in honor of a historical Romanian king. The 151-kilometer track is the longest in the event and starts with a proper Red Bull Romaniacs Gold Loop and then gets fast. Speed and stamina are vital. Yesterday's fastest rider, Graham Jarvis, is first to take off, followed by the weakened Wade Young, then Manuel Lettenbichler. It's not a smooth start for Young. As if fighting an injured foot isn't enough, 5 minutes into the race, he has mechanical issues with his gear selector and is forced to return to the start to make repairs. He's able to fix it and get back in the game, but has lost nearly half an hour. Up front, Jarvis is ahead of the competition, but not riding as fast through the checkpoints as he did on day 1. Alfredo Gomez, who finished 5th on the first day, is killing it. He's already passed Mario Roman. Now he takes a high line on a steep forest climb known as Hill 16 around Manuel Lettenbichler. Further back, Roman and Johnny Walker are battling to stay in the game. Gomez, on the other hand, keeps crushing it. 4 hours into the race, he's had 5 of the fastest times at key checkpoints. He's now leading the day. Graham Jarvis is still out front, but he's struggling with his speed. He's first to enter the service point, followed by Gomez.
I'm having a very good pace. I see Graham a few times, but I couldn't be closer to him, so trying to chase Graham till the end.
At the service point, a suffering Wade Young and his team make the crucial decision to pull him out of the race. His leg injury has gotten the best of him. Jarvis has left the service point. He's followed by Gomez. and Lettenbichler. They're worn and weary in the push to the end. Taking the day at a slightly more enjoyable pace are the silver and bronze riders, simultaneously riding on their respective courses. In the gold class category, Johnny Walker and Mari Roman are riding consistently in 4th and 5th position. Off-road Day 2 leader Graham Jarvis has said he's feeling his age at the more intense races. But you wouldn't know it, as he's still showing up some of the younger riders in 3rd. KTM's Manuel Lettenbichler has been doing his best to close in on today's race frontrunner. But over 5 hours into the rally, Gomez has the silent assassin in his sights. He passes Jarvis before the final climb. In the last push, he takes the fastest time and flies through the finish line for the Day 2 win. Jarvis rolls in right behind him. Lettenbichler comes in 3rd, but will finish with a higher position than Jarvis, as he had a faster overall time for the day.
Was Graham 5 minutes before I arrived till the end, and we came together, so very happy. I think I made a good time in the general also, so looking for the next days.
Here's the overall for the gold class after 2 days. Gomez is now in the lead, with Graham Jarvis in 2nd and Manuel Lettenbichler in 3rd.
Earlier on, I called Martin Freinademetz, the organiser of this race, a sadist, but I think it's fair to say this race is almost as brutal on you as it is on any of the riders. How much sleep have you had this week?
Oh, not too much, a couple of hours, yeah. Every night, like 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on the day.
You look pretty good for it, but the big news from Day 2 there was that Wade Young dropped out, last year's winner, which opens things up now.
Yeah, that's a pity, because he was doing really very well. He's very strong at the moment, and we were also expecting him to do very good at this race, because it's not over technical this year, and he's also very good in the fast sections. And yeah, dropping out is a pity. He was doing, even though with his injury, still very good on the first day. But on the other hand, understand his decision, as he lost about 30 minutes after with a technical problem. There is not really much of a chance that he can defend his title. So then having an injury as well, I think it was a good decision for him to come back next year and give it again. He's still young, he's fit, and he has a great future.
Okay, I know you wanted to talk to Martin about Romania.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we just had a little chat last night, Martin, and you was almost falling asleep, and you told me a little bit that you'd been out on the track helping the riders get through a section called Grinder, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're always having discussions within the track matches, and Skinner is the one between us that has been racing, the only one who has been racing the race a couple of times. So he's telling us always, I know better than you, because we have never been racing it all. So I said this year I should at least go out and do as many race days as possible, and which I did on day 1, and it was actually quite good. And it took me around 8 hours to finish the gold class. And then after 3 hours of sleep, I went out on day 3, and day 3 kind of killed me as well. So the first gold section, the black slope, was quite technical. Then in between the black slope and getting to dunk point, it was still some new stuff that I didn't know, and Mike has put in a few interesting, challenging sections. and then I was, after refilling, happy, and now I'm going to a silver section, which is called Grinderman. And Grinderman was totally grinded, and it turned out to be so difficult silver, so Grinderman took me about 2 hours. And after that, my energy was burned.
It's refreshing to hear that the organiser of the event doesn't know what the courses look like, as well as all of the competitors. But you talked about racing the gold class. How important is it to have the iron, the bronze and the silver classes racing as well?
Yeah, the level is very different in actually all kind of sports. But in enduro or in rally, if they're riding all on the same track, then the good guys will be in the finish at midday, and the amateurs will be there at midnight. So we need to have different track layouts, and also
to essentially measure the difficulty, so everyone's out for the same amount of time.
Kind of, yeah. And we used to have in the beginning an amateur class and a professional class, and then we were just putting in more and more classes because the level is very close to each other, and you might just be not strong enough for bronze, but you can do good in iron. Next going to silver and so on. So maybe in the near future we'll have a fifth class just to satisfy everybody and to be challenged but not over-challenged.
One of the most unique elements of this is delivered by the location, though, isn't it? How important is it that you hold this race in Sibiu and Romania?
Yeah, the Romania and the Carpathian mountains just offer great riding. It's very remote. There is not really people that you board out there in the mountains because there's not any much alpine tourism. It's just some shepherds with their sheep and a few forest workers, and we get very well along with them. And yeah, it's perfect. When I came here first time 20 years ago, after the first hour of riding in the forest, I fell in love with that country. So this is just the perfect adventure. That's the place to go. So moving from Austria to Romania, many people don't understand how you can move from the first world to a not so well developed country. But yeah, I'm loving it here.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot now. Difficult conditions, a very difficult stage. Who do you think is going to win today?
Yeah, this is I mean, there is still a good hour and a half of racing. They have passed checkpoint 7 now. They will soon be at checkpoint 8. Then go into the ventilator.
Are you dodging my question, Martin?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And then is still a fast section where also things can happen, you know, sliding out and so on. So I can throw the coin.
Come on, give us in your heart of hearts. Emotionally, I'd like to see Manny do it on the 10th anniversary of his father winning.
Yeah, I'm with you as well. I feel the same. I would like him to win, yeah.
Okay, then. Who do you think, Bolt?
I'm going to say Jarvis is just going to push on, and the old he's got so much left in the tanks, and he wants to do it. And it may be his last chance to get a win at Red Bull Romaniacs.
Okay, no partisan bias there whatsoever. Martin, thanks so much for joining us. We're going to take another look back now at day 3 of the off-road.
As day 3 dawns, riders are uncertain about what's to come next.
For day 3, I will start like yesterday, as fast as possible, because I think before the service point will be the hardest part of the day. After we will have some surprise, but we have 47 kilometers liaison, so it's time enough to rest, I think.
This year the racing is so tight, everybody's riding so good, so we have to step up our game the last 2 days now.
Wallachia is a historical region of Romania and the name of today's 140-kilometer track containing the infamous Black Slope Climb, liaison section, and the treacherous Young Pine Climb to the finish. Estimated ride time is 5.5 hours. Eyes are filled with tired determination as riders get ready. Number 5, Alfredo Gomez is first on the course. Then number 15, Graham Jarvis, and number 2, Manuel Lettenbichler. Gomez is riding strong at first, but Manuel Lettenbichler is coming in like a bat out of hell. The German KTM rider is 3rd overall at Romaniacs after 2 days and determined to improve his position. 2nd overall, Graham Jarvis has a rough start, riding 5 minutes behind the leader. After the 1 hour mark, he starts to climb his way back into contention. Mario Roman did well enough on day 1 and day 2 to sit 4th in the Romaniacs combined standings. So far, checkpoint times suggest he's holding steady in that position, despite biting it on a log earlier in the morning. Johnny Walker is nearly half an hour behind the lead, and then that gap is now even greater. Nearly 2 hours into the race, Lettenbichler overtakes Gomez. The Spanish rider is now 5th fastest of the day. If he doesn't pick up the pace, the current Romaniacs leader will lose first place to Lettenbichler.
He's able to overtake the lead. Lettenbichler into the pits, but the German rider is still holding strong.
I caught up to Graham, passed him, then caught up to Alfredo, and I had a little problem with my brakes, so I had to stop one time to fix them. And then he passed me back, but I'm feeling quite good.
Yeah, I still have the lead. Manny passed me, but I passed him back, so I still have a bit of advantage. I don't know how much, but good riding. So.
The pros leave the pits. Gomez, Lettenbichler, and Jarvis. The silver and bronze class riders continue to take on their own courses. Back to the gold. We're nearly 4 hours into the race. Manuel Lettenbichler and Tadej Bozusiak are fighting for the fastest time of the day. Lettenbichler and Alfredo Gomez looking good for Gomez. He's been leading a lot in the second half of the course. But Lettenbichler won't let up. If the German athlete can take the day, he's in a great position for the final day. He could win Red Bull Romaniacs just like his dad, Andreas Lettenbichler, did 10 years ago. That's not going to happen if Jarvis has anything to say about it. This legacy rider is blowing the minds of fans and competitors, riding some of the best hard enduro of his career. Who will come out on top of this race? 6 hours in, that question will be answered.
I'm actually super happy about today, that today is over, and we rode like really fast today, so I'm happy that it's over, and tomorrow, yeah, I will just try my best.
I've been a bit wary of, conserving energy today, so, I don't want to burn out. I think definitely my age is playing a part over the 4 days.
Here's the overall for the gold class after 3 days. Manuel Lettenbichler will go into the final day of racing with a 1 minute, 51-second advantage over Alfredo Gomez.
Fascinating. When we went down to see Andreas Lettenbichler and Jeff the mechanic, Manny's truck yesterday, they both said Manny had reiterated just how fast the pace here is. He said it was like a motocross race.
Yeah, you literally do motocross the sections between. It depends on the traction. Today's a different problem. It could be something that causes a problem with a little front wheel slip or something like that. But if the traction's right here, you can literally motocross the sections.
It's a 4-day marathon, though, through these mountains, and it feels like Manny's paced himself really well for this race.
Yeah, he's set himself up really well. I think he would have preferred to have started second or third today, because the other guys could definitely reel him in, and that could be a problem for his result.
Now, I've heard you talk this week about drafting, that you can actually, in the same way that you would in a peloton, in a road cycling race, or you would in Formula One in cars, you can draft in enduro.
Yeah, you can, especially in this race. It's kind of the same idea, but you've not got the speed element. You've got the speed element, but you're kind of just letting them hit the bumps. You go around them. You're watching your GPS. So if they shoot past a turn that you've seen on your GPS because you've not been having to concentrate on the track as much, you can literally slip off, and you might have a good breakaway then.
And yeah, so you're not aerodynamically drafting, but you're using them as spotters almost for you.
Using them to save your energy. Don't tell them, though.
Yeah, and if there's one little bump, then that saves you a kilojoule of energy, but you add that up, and that might be 10 metres. You add that up over 10, 20, 50 kilometres. That's 500, 1,000.
Exactly. And that's where the game starts playing, and it starts on day one, and you're just playing that cat and mouse game, literally. I've been in situations with me, Johnny, Jarvis, and old Letty, where it was literally, go on, you go first, and nobody would take up the lead, because not only that, but if you are leading and you do hit something that's a big hole or something like that, then you could potentially be injured, or you could break your bike. So that's a big problem for, especially on the last day, if you're leading.
Okay, Johnny Walker a little bit further down the field. He had a terrible day yesterday, didn't he?
Yes, he has, and we did see him yesterday, didn't we? And he was walking around Sibiu trying to, buy some traction from the shops, but unfortunately they've all sold out. It's Red Bull Romaniacs. The traction is all out, but you have got to be careful, Ed. There is good traction and bad traction out there. So for those that don't know, make sure you get the good traction.
Okay, buy well or buy twice when it comes to grip. Alongside all of the gold class riders that we've been talking about, there's also a heavy hitting field of amateurs out there. And in the iron class, there's some fantastic action going down, isn't there?
Yeah, there is, and we could see a lady winner of one of the classes. She's in the iron class, and she's riding a Stormer. And if she takes that, it's going to be amazing for the sport.
Okay, there's the ramp. In the iron class, I think that is one of the amateur riders really struggling with that, and it gives you an idea of just how brutal the terrain is here. We wax lyrical about it, but when you actually get out there and you see how brutal this is, that's when it comes home. There's stories. Sandra Gomez is on a drip in hospital from exhaustion and dehydration, isn't she?
Yeah, so the idea behind the drip is the fact that you're just going to get some more salts, glucose back in your body, because you literally can't drink enough, you can't eat enough, and if you've been pushing a lot, using a lot of unnecessary energy, it's all right if you can ride up the sections, but if you are having to push sections, she's riding the gold class, so it's a big deal, and you need every bit of help you can.
Physically, you need to be very, very strong. We're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, Pat Parnell and Daryl Curtis will have the commentary, but we're going to leave you right now with some of the GoPro footage from Manny Lettenbichler yesterday.
Limits and the boundaries of endurance have once again been shattered as we enter our final and fifth day of Hard Enduro's ultimate test, with its relentless terrain and distances that push the sport's elite to the brink of personal defeat. Welcome, everyone, as we are already underway with our gold, silver, bronze, and iron class competitors on course, where in under 2 hours, we will be crowning champions for the Sweet 16th running of Red Bull Romaniacs. Hi there, everyone. Pat Parnell, along with Enduro icon and former podium finisher here at Romaniacs, none other than Daryl Curtis. Daryl, we've learned one thing. You can't write scripts any better than this, and it is impossible to predict anything at Romaniacs, and you've gone on record. The great equalizer, the rain, and we're seeing the effects here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think earlier in the week it was very dry. In fact, we had temperatures of up to 35 degrees, and everybody was quite excited. It was nice, easy riding and everything else. But of course, the rain here turns everything on its head. And as you can see, these guys, we've had a fair amount of water drop. There's still a little bit of dust you can see coming out the back there. Underneath, there's that layer, but it's really, really slick out there.
So a quick recap so far, what has gone down leading up to this point. Bringing you up to speed earlier this week, the prologue. So Tadej Blazusiak, a little surprise. I think definitely got us up out of our seat, but off-road day one and the usual suspects, but great performance from Graham Jarvis as well.
Yeah, as you can see there, Tadej having a little moment over there. There's just so many things. He had the problem with his fuel hose. He lost about 15 minutes over there, but he fixed it and he managed to get going.
Well, the likes of Mario Roman, Gomez, and Manny Lettenbichler, but Jarvis close in tow as we look at day two highlights. And then moving into day three, a very tight, treacherous course, some quick ups and down sections. But interesting to see Lettenbichler, Roman, Blazusiak staying close in tow, but all riders definitely put to the test as we look to this fifth and final day of the 16th running of Red Bull Romaniacs, and we highly anticipate the arrival of the sport's best into this natural dirt arena, and it has been raining all morning. Let's get back to the story at hand. How much does this change the playing field?
Well, if you first out on the track, of course, maybe a slight little bit of an advantage, but we've already heard that they've cut antifreeze out, which tells us that the conditions out there are just brutal.
That's right, that antifreeze section, a stair-step section with no run-up leading into ventilator, but ventilator, quick zigzag back and forth, and then over towards Hug the Tree. 123 kilometers from start to finish, and you add that up on a 5-day journey, that is no easy task, Daryl. You've done it. You know the feeling. What are these competitors going through right now, mentally and physically?
Well, mentally this morning when it started raining, I think everybody just thought, oh no, you know. I spoke to a lot of guys in the hotel, and they're already done in the iron, the bronze, and the silver classes. It is really, really tough out there. And of course, the level of the gold riders just makes us look so easy. You know, they come in, they literally obliterate the field. They come in, you know, 4.5, 5 hours we've seen on these trails, and you know, the rest of the guys just cannot understand how they do it. It is just so difficult out there.
And this is ventilator as we await all the riders, gold class especially. We caught up with Billy Bolt, Graham Jarvis. They were having dinner last night. Graham just obviously nerves of steel as always. Never a blip on the radar. Unfortunately for Billy, dealing with a little bit of a, what would you say, an influenza? Just not feeling his top self.
Yeah, Billy's had bronchitis for the last couple of weeks, but just look at ventilator over there and you can see how this is going to play into Graham Jarvis's hands. This is Graham Jarvis terrain.
Yeah, so maybe Bolts is right. He looks at the conditions and he's making the assessment. Talk about just how much energy this can zap from you too, and you don't have much in the reserve tank at this point.
No, and this is where Graham, exactly what Paul said, where Graham is so good. You know, these guys pushing and struggling over here. If Graham manages to just clean every section, conserves his energy, and keeps going. So his sole purpose throughout this whole race has been to conserve his energy. You remember what happened to him last year? He blew, he was fatigued, and he had to withdraw from the race.
And I want to remind everyone to join the conversation. Hashtag Red Bull Romaniacs, hashtag Red Bull Motorsports, hashtag iRideWESS. Get the questions out there. Get behind your favorite rider, whether it be iron, bronze, silver, or gold. I mean, hats go off to every single class of competitor here.
You're already a winner if you finish the Red Bull Romaniacs.
Well, let's talk, Tadej Blazusiak. He's never finished. I mean, for him to finish today would be a feat in itself.
And very unfair last year. You know, Teddy got the runs out at the ski resort, totally dehydrated. But, you know, you really do need a lot of luck here as well.
Well, the rain continues to come down here in the Carpathian Mountains as we await the gold class and the rest of the competitors to make their way into the finish area. We started off with the prologue. 4 days later, we find ourselves back up in the mountains. And what a day. I'll tell you what, the weather decided a good day to open up, just make it a little bit more challenging. But we expect...
Manny Lessenbichler is entering ventilator now, so this is going to be really exciting. This is showing us that he's first on the road. And let's just see how difficult the section is. I haven't seen it myself. I haven't been able to get out there. But it's a long section. I think there's lots of switchbacks. It's going to be really interesting to see now the gap, because the race is very, very close with Teddy, with Gomez, Johnny Walker. They're all in the mix. Graham Jarvis. Let's see the order.
Lettenbichler is looking awfully comfortable, as Paul Bolton noted earlier. Hasn't got that West win. Has a third in Lagares, second in Erzberg, fifth in Hispania. And just looking for that win. And if Lettenbichler could get it today, it would be on the 10th anniversary of his father winning this event here in Romania.
Look at how close they are. They're all together. And one of the points that I remember from last year is how strong Manny was on all of the slippery climbs. Of course, it was a lot wetter last year, and he definitely had the advantage on the uphills. He managed to pull away from the guys. But, you know, everybody's changed. Johnny Walker last night made a lot of changes to his bike. He was struggling, and I think he's in a lot better shape. He's a lot happier today, certainly, we heard from the service points.
Well, let's not forget, too, Manny Lettenbichler, 2016 Super Enduro champion, won 15 of 18 events. He's no stranger to winning, even early in his career, and he's finding form here. could we possibly be sitting on the precipice of the Lettenbichler dominance? That's the big question right now. Or can Graham Jarvis maintain and grab a win here? And let's talk about just the time differential, how close these guys are. This is what you wish to see as a spectator and a fan of Enduro.
No, most definitely. And coming into Costa Rica over here, we're not going to know who's won the race until they've calculated the start time because of the difference, of course. Top 3 guys starting 3 minutes apart each. But I can tell you now that the racing is going to be close, and these guys are going to be literally motocrossing into the finish today.
How about the tactical factor there, too, as we look at the high speeds now trying to catch up, making up for lost ground. Roman and the rest of the pack are trying to stay in step with Lettenbichler.
Alfredo Gomez, they're coming into the screen, and he's a little bit behind, but what's that? That's probably only 30 seconds or so. So these guys are all together. It's still anybody's race. We saw Teddy Blazusiak going up the climb a little bit earlier there, right behind Manny, and there's Manny coming to the screen again. And our next camera position, and let's see if we can see the gap now between this pack of riders. There we go. Yeah. Teddy on the left-hand side there, number 16, and in the background there. Just wait to see who that is. But yeah, this is a close race. This is anybody's day today.
I believe Gomez was third out of the last point. And really, maybe it gives us a good chance to break down just the subtleties of how difficult this is, this back and forth in ventilator, this zigzagging and having to pivot on your bike.
Yeah, you can see that. I mean, the cameras never do justice to the steepness of the climb. You can just see how they're zigzagging, unrideable. The guys have to go up as far as they can and do a pivot turn and then try to find a nice angle. They're all looking for that little bit of traction now. Really, really slick and slippery. But, of course, it's Graham Jarvis terrain over here. And I want to see where he is.
Yeah, on the 5th day of competition, where's the physical reserve at this point? You've been there.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what, your body's sore, your body's aching, and everything hurts. And when you get to a stage like this and you have to start pushing, it just depends on who the strongest and the fittest guy is. But more importantly, who's got the highest skill set over here. And youth definitely plays a big part in this. Youngsters, you can imagine Graham Jarvis now a lot older, trying to compete with the energy levels of these guys. There's old Manny there. He's got to make a nice, sharp left turn over here. You can see it looks super steep, even on the camera.
Lettenbichler always focused, adamant on the have fun approach. He's seemed so relaxed, so confident as of late, and has his sights set on a WESS win.
You can see there, he's just rolling his bike back a little bit into the foliage there, trying to make a line. He's going to spin up his back wheel a little bit, try to find a little bit of traction there, and you can see he's going to end up pushing. As more and more bikes go over here and they start pushing more of the foliage away, it's going to start getting more difficult.
Well, brings into question, too, where you want to start. You obviously have that advantage of following a set of tracks, but after a while, it's diminishing returns at that point.
I was laughing at the track builders last night. They were saying the one section, old Billy Bolt came along, and he got a bit mad, and he just upped that throttle, and he was aggressive, rocks and stones flying everywhere, and he said he obliterated the track. And the next guys that came, they got stuck in the big hole that he had spun out, and sometimes it pays to be first like this.
Well, I think gives a little bit better angle here just on how vertical this section is. And mind you, everyone watching worldwide here as we're live for the first time ever on the 5th day of competition at Romaniacs, and jump in there.
There's Graham Jarvis.
Yeah, we got you up out of your seat. Yeah, the Carpathian King is in the mix and close on the hot, and it's going to be interesting to see, but just the sheer steepness of this right now. Wow.
We look back, similar scenes to Erzberg. Of course, the riders can opt to help each other up here. Are they going to do it? And this is a little bit like the Grunerhuller section that we've all loved so much.
I mean, age aside, we've seen Graham Jarvis obviously in the hunt right now as we look at Tadej Blazusiak, the winner of the prologue, faltered a little bit right thereafter, didn't have the best second day he was hoping for, but Tadej Blazusiak, one of the most dominant forces in the sport of enduro, has yet to ever finish on Red Bull Romaniacs. Can today be the day for him?
Of course, Teddy lying 8th in WESS at the moment. He's 790 points off the leader. A good result here. He's really going to carry him up the leaderboard. His 2019 season started with 8th at Lagares, a 16 in Treff, 6th at Erzberg, and a 7th at Hispania. A good result here will really, really do a lot for him.
What about the Carpathian King?
Well, here he is. He's in the shot right now. I mean, Graham Jarvis has won this event 6 times. Has won it more than anybody else. Cyril the players. Depre's won it 3 times.
So standings after checkpoint 8, on top Gomez, followed by Lettenbichler, Jarvis in 3rd. And in terms of WESS implications, Jarvis came into this event the top spot, followed by Lettenbichler and Roman in 3rd, Gomez rounding out the top 4.
Teddy seems to be really struggling with that point over there. It looks like many Lettenbichlers got out already. And this is where the clock ticks. The clock doesn't stand still for anybody.
I mean, age aside, we've seen Graham Jarvis in situations like this really have that deft touch. I don't know what it is, how he nimbly approaches the bike. So let's closely keep our eyes on Jarvis here, the silent assassin. And you're asking yourself, why is he called the silent assassin? Because he can do just that. Make up time in areas you wouldn't think that he can make up time in.
And you can see Alfredo Gomez there in the screen, just coming up behind
I mean, for
Johnny Walker.
A strong finish, too, for Gomez is going to keep him in the hunt for the overall Enduro title, the World Enduro Super Series title at stake here as we're midway in the season. And just look at the struggle. The struggle is real here in Romania.
Looks like Gomez might be able to get past Johnny over there. Johnny hasn't had his best Romaniacs ever. He's really been struggling with a couple of things, but after last night, we heard him talk this morning, and I think that he's a lot happier today.
Yeah, Johnny Walker in good spirits. Remember back 2018, last year, found the podium in 3rd place, but 2015 grabbed the win. As little Walker slightly off his game, was looking awfully comfortable starting at the prologue. But just when the rest of the field is this fast and this in form, definitely hard to find that top 5 rhythm.
And Johnny at the moment lying 7th in WESS, and Alfredo, he is in 4th at the moment.
So if you were doing a little, a tech clinic here, what would you say, Coach?
Well, obviously they're both just trying to find traction in any way possible and look for the best lines. Alfredo's lucky enough to get a bit of help over there, and that's what every rider looks for. Is there somebody that's going to just give me that little pull on the front wheel on the fork just to get up over a little slippy section? Alfredo's very lucky they're getting some help. Of course, which is allowed here in Romaniacs. But he's just slipped over there. It just shows you how slippery it is, losing his footing over there. And every time you do that, you're just losing a little bit of energy.
Well, it's his consistency. Gomez so far 4th in prologue, 4th on day 1, a 1st on day 2, and grabbed 2nd yesterday on day 3. So such a tight battle. We're talking, 2 to 3 minute differentials. A very, very tight battle. As Paul pointed out in the pre-show, I mean, that can be made up in a flash.
Yeah, I mean, if Graham comes up here and he managed to pass everybody in this section, it would be huge for him, making up minutes. You can already see the difference now from when Manny got out until now. Although they all arrived within a minute or 2 of each other at the bottom, by the time they get out here, those times would have changed dramatically.
Well, the rain continues to fall here in the Carpathian Mountains here for the 16th running of Red Bull Romaniacs, and now eyes focused on the Carpathian King, as we kindly call him, 6-time winner of Red Bull Romaniacs, Graham Jarvis, on top of the WESS Series standings right now and trying to get that final momentum mid-season push. Can he make it a 7th, a historic 7th Red Bull Romaniacs? He seems unfazed by this, just continues getting a quick toe here.
Yeah, well, that toe, I mean, is invaluable. I don't know why Johnny didn't get a chance to get a toe there. Maybe Graham's got some friends in the mountains, but that's a huge advantage to get a bit of help at this time.
Safe to say he has some fans, for sure. Graham Jarvis, just a lot of the push factor that we've seen when it gets this wet. Look at that back tire. Traction
if you're
is...
looking at Graham Jarvis struggling like this, then you can just imagine the steepness of this, because it's not often that we see the king of hard enduro having to get off his bike like that. Of course, ventilator, 82.5 kilometers into the day. Total distance for gold today, 123 kilometers to the finish here in Costa Rica.
So what a career it has been for Graham Jarvis, and he's showing no signs of slowing down at 44 when you consider he is up against competitors half his age.
Yeah,
20, 21,
I
22.
can't imagine what's going through Johnny Walker's mind at the moment.
He looks a little slack-jawed, just in terms of reading the body position at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be very demoralizing. You just watched Graham Jarvis getting slingshot passed him up the hill, and I think he's just waiting for the rope now. His body language tells me that he's pretty tired, and everybody is really beat up at this stage of the race.
Well, Johnny Walker taking his time on this very challenging ventilator section. Now Walker, he gets some help. He's able to strap on. And this is legal. We just want to point that out, getting a little help. There are, in terms of the enduro races, there are sections where you're not allowed assistance. But obviously with the wetness, definitely an area that is so steep. I'm not quite sure if it's doing it justice, just how steep. And just let's bring up to the root factor. When the roots get wet mixed with that, I mean, you're getting nothing in terms of traction.
Exactly, yeah. Makes it super slippery. I just want to go back to Johnny Walker's Romaniacs. He's a two-time winner here. He won it in 2014 and 2015, and he had a clean run in 2015. I'm not sure if you remember, but he absolutely cleaned it.
Yeah, I think a lot of Walker fans out there are wondering, you know, where Johnny's at this year, finding his rhythm. As we look at the current standings, on top still Gomez, followed by Lettenbichler, Jarvis in third, and Blazusiak, Tadej Blazusiak in fourth place. Looks like at this point well on his way to finally finishing the Red Bull Romaniacs. No easy feat. Even our, well, we can call him a fellow commentator because he'll be back competing next year, but Paul Bolton took him. It was a third time was a charm for Paul. This is no easy task just to even complete a Romaniacs.
Yeah, and it's like that all the way through the classes. Iron, bronze, silver. Everybody has got the same goal to finish this race.
So this was earlier today on just taking a look at the lower section of the course. Just littered with leaves and the wetness that's come down. Torrential downpour this morning as it finally, the skies finally opened up here. And the rain was anticipated, but I think in terms of just the sheer volume of water that we got and how quickly it came, a little bit of surprise.
There's been a lot of rain during the week, but it's basically just taken the dust away. And this is the first soaking rain that we've had. And this morning it just really did bucket down here. I'm looking out the window of the commentary booth, and I can have a look at the final hill at Costa Rita, and we can see how much of an effect the water has had already.
Yeah. And this is just, I mean, to see the sports elite, when you see him struggling like this, I just speaks volumes of how difficult Red Bull Romaniacs is.
There was a good shot of the soil over there, so you can see it's really, really soaky. And in the other shot we saw a little bit earlier, I think was the bronze or the silver classes, how cut up those hills are getting. They're going to get really, really deep rutted in some places, and they're going to start jamming the guys up.
So big takeaway for me, it was earlier in the week. I think I was in the hotel, and one of the riders came in. It might have been from the bronze class. Lady at the hotel said, "How was your day?" He's like, "I just had the worst day of my life." And you know, and this is willingly, you know, we laugh about it, but there is a little bit of a, you know, a masochist inside all of these competitors. I mean, they love the challenge. If it's hard, why do it, right?
Absolutely. I looked at a guy walk away from the breakfast table this morning, and he was bent over and he was done. He couldn't walk properly. And there we just had another shot again of Graham Jarvis being pulled past Johnny Walker.
So the fans starting to assemble as we anticipate the final completion of the fourth off-road day. 5 days of competition. We started off with the prologue on Tuesday, and there's some committed fans right there coming out up into the mountains here to see whether it be the amateurs and pros, and that's one of the coolest aspects of the WESS series is you get amateurs not just competing alongside, but sometimes, you know, with the pros.
Yeah, and then they're just, you know, riding with the pros like this, they, you know, it just ups your game because you realize what's possible. So there's the final climb that we're looking at the moment. It's quite smooth all the way up. They've thrown a lot of loose soil down there, and there's the big kicker at the top before you go up the Red Bull Arch.
So, Daryl, we were looking at this yesterday. It was dry. That was one thing. How much does it change the game now that there's been this much rain? It's got that little bit, you know, you'd probably be coming out in second off that first jump, maybe in third pinned.
Second or third, and I think it's actually going to be pretty good. I don't think the guy's going to have too much of a problem up there. There is another one big climb in the quarry here where I think the guy's going to struggle. And we're going to already expect the bronze riders coming in the next 20 minutes or so.
Well, I know you were kind enough to hop out on the prologue course. Can you mind hopping out and just doing a quick hill climb POV for us?
I think the commentary booth is quite warm.
We just don't have time.
But yeah, I don't have time right now, guys. Yeah, I'm just going to sit tight.
So a good angle there from up top of the hill, looking down into the finish area where all of our competitors, all classes, will come in today after 5 days of competition. The gold class out on course right now, and a very, very tight battle between the likes of Gomez, Lettenbichler, Blazusiak, Walker, and Jarvis. Implications more on the WESS Series sitting for Jarvis and Lettenbichler. Gomez just outside of that top two position, but the battle for those top two spots on WESS between Gomez and Jarvis. And so this is Lettenbichler's day so far, looking back at some earlier footage.
So you can see over there, there you can see the proper incline over there, the bike sliding down, and I'm not 100% sure where the line has to be. Obviously, Letty's got to be up there to the right of the screen.
And just that off-camber, anything off-camber like that where you're having to go across the mountain, you can see just negative traction, not even zero traction.
Getting a lot of help from the mechanics in the forest there, but you can just see that those guys are even struggling to stand. And to ride a motorbike up there, well, yeah, you can imagine why they've taken antifreeze out, because antifreeze is a lot worse than what we're seeing here right now.
So footage we're looking at via the ENGs and some GoPros out in the field, and we'll be jumping throughout the competition to look at how we got to the current situation. And it shows Lettenbichler's wherewithal. Just screams aside, fairly calm with the task at hand.
And of course, he's got youth on his side, and just the condition of these athletes at the moment, they're super, super fit. But what I noticed yesterday is the pace that these guys are riding at, and they absolutely are motocrossing between these sections. As you can see over there, obviously, you know, he's on the way up a climb over there, trying to see how far he can get up. He doesn't want to push.
Should also remind all the viewers, too, not only are you looking for those blue markers, you're constantly on your GPS as you're firing up the hill. The multitasking is on another level.
Yeah, navigation is a big thing here. You could, as Paul said, you could take a little wrong line, wrong turn in the forest, and you could slip down a little edge like Xavier Galindo did all those years ago. He ended up in the lake.
And this is where, you know, as a spectator and a fan, this is where it almost gets that serene where you want to be out there riding. But you can imagine just what the body's feeling right now and how pinned he wants to be to get to that next point.
Every second counts over here. Every single second counts. These guys are so good. They're just trying to get away. A couple of seconds here, a couple of seconds there. There's no time to rest.
This is the arrival at Ventilator earlier as the skies once again decided to let it rain.
Yeah, we saw, just for those that weren't watching, we saw Manny Lettenbichler come in first, closely followed by Teddy Blazusiak.
I think it just perfectly illustrates.
No, it's insane. I mean, you get iron, bronze is a little bit harder, silver is a lot harder, and then gold is just stupid. I mean, you really got to be stupid to come in races.
Even if you were fresh, this was your day one out of the car, out of the camp, and you had to deal with this, it'd be difficult, not to mention after 4 days of competition.
No, huge respect for these athletes. Gold, we've seen it get more and more difficult over the years, and I can tell you now that it's a level. I've got so much respect for these guys. It is insane.
Well, much, much more to come. The gold class, we will be crowning champions here in Romania. Stay close. More action right after this. On board with Johnny Walker POV as we rejoin the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs. Trying to stay on the heels of Billy Bull as we are in the midst of the gold class, just under an hour and a half away of crowning our champion here at the Sweet 16th running of the Red Bull Romaniacs. And the conditions, rainy, challenging, to say the least, as a tight battle in the top spot between Lettenbichler, Jarvis, Gomez, and the rest of the field closely in tow. As we will also be seen from our iron, bronze, and silver class as they will start to make their way into the zone. Taking a look at the ramp section, 83.7 kilometer loop, and look at the carnage on course, Daryl.
Now that's a typical Romaniac scene. That's what we've seen every year. The guys have been really lucky up until now. It's been pretty dry. But today, the game has changed completely. It is raining, it is wet, it is sloppy out there, and there's no traction.
We called it the great equalizer at the top of the show. It is basically the humiliator. when it gets this wet, we are seeing the sport's top riders just struggle with, I would say, sections that they would normally just have no problem with.
And then we can see Manny in the background over there. This, of course, was earlier today at the ramp. But let's see what he makes of this.
So taking a look back earlier with Manuel Lettenbichler. And back at the 2018 Romaniacs, grabbed a second. But the first here at Romaniacs, he has yet to grab it. If he does it today, it'll match a 10-year anniversary on the day that his dad won Romaniacs. Andreas, his father, we caught up with him working on the bike yesterday, and boy, did he seem confident. Hopefully that confidence kind of rolls off onto Manny. As see Manny now working his way up with a little bit of a pile up, and right there, that just shows tactic. That shows incredible prowess.
Carefully using his line, so I wasn't sure if the Gold had the same entrance to this climb as the rest of the guys, but they had. And of course, Manny there, just hit it with a bit of momentum at the bottom, and he managed to get over that first little bit of terrain where the grass had been spun away already.
Kind of telling though, when you see him, just the comfort factor. He looks, he assesses, and he's like, he knows what he's got to do, and just does it. Like,
yeah, the worst thing you can do in a section like that is to race into it, and then you get stuck. So he really did suss it out. These guys don't want to make any mistakes.
So Lettenbichler, what's at stake for him? Not just making history to match his dad's finish here 10 years prior. It would give him a huge surge in the WESS standings. Right now, coming into this event, he sits in second behind Jarvis. But as we pointed out, we're midway through the WESS season. But just getting a win here would definitely, I would say, make things slightly a little bit more challenging for the rest of the field for both Jarvis and Lettenbichler to get a lead here.
This definitely is a turning point, and Manny's 2019 season has gone really well. He got a third at Lagares, 14th at La Trèfle, second at Erzberg, and a fifth at Hispania.
Well, once again, we check in with Caroline, who's got some information for us. Caroline.
The elite riders have checked out, but the amateurs and the riders from the other classes are still flocking in, and they will be for the next few hours. And we'll be bringing you the best stories. Among them, the story of Anna Schmosel, who's riding in the Iron class and could become the first ever woman to win a class at Romaniacs.
Thank you, Kaz. Great stuff there, and it has been an incredible week. Notable standouts, too. We talk about the female class here, and that is something we love to see in Enduro, the likes of Sandra Gomez and others. Even in the Iron and Bronze class, we're seeing female competitors be contenders. What's your takeaway from that?
I absolutely love it. I mean, we've got Anna Schmolz, she was leading Iron class, and we've had Laya Sands come to Erzberg Rodeo, and Sandra Gomez, of course, she's done several. She's done the Roof of Africa. She also attempted Erzberg. And it's just great to see them in a man's world, really, because this hard enduro is kind of like not really for girls. We can say that, but they're coming, they love it, and we love to see them here.
Indeed, and lucky for us, Sandra Gomez is with our own Ed Lee and Paul Bolton. Guys?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're here with Sandra, as you just heard. You were in hospital last night. That sounds pretty serious.
Yeah, I was in the hospital until 11:30 of the night. I started to be sick in the middle of the mountain and stayed there for 3 hours or 4 hours pushing and trying to arrive to somewhere with the van or something, just go out of the mountains.
Dehydration and exhaustion kicking in.
What?
It was dehydration and exhaustion kicking in?
Yeah, I had no water like 30 minutes before it, but it was not so long time without water. But when I drink, and it was 30 minutes after drink, I started to be bad and throwing all the food, so bad.
Goodness. Yeah, it's a crazy race, and you can't underestimate how much you should be prepared for this race, can you? So, how did you find the gold class, Sandra?
Well, it was a big plan, be here in goal. I was doing all the races I could, Hispania, Erzberg, everything, but I knew it was very hard. It's the hardest races of the year, I think. But I don't know, I'm happy to be here and try it, and I will come back.
How does it compare to Erzberg?
Well, it's completely different, you know. You are alone in the mountains and a lot of hours, and Erzberg is only 4 hours, and you can see everybody around. It's more safe, and here you think you cannot have a big crash somewhere also, and you have problems on the bike, you have to resolve them, everything. Water problems, I drank from the river day too. I don't know, it was a big adventure, but it was okay. The day one I finished, I was so good, so happy passing guys the second and third day, and also yesterday. Feeling good, but it started to be bad. I don't know, maybe something in the food, or maybe just too much tired. You never know.
What about the evolution of the women's division? It's something that we've seen through Erzberg with yourself and Laia, and then Anna Schmulzel is leading the iron class. Do you see women really starting to make their mark on enduro?
Well, usually I'm alone in the races with the boys.
Yeah, absolutely.
But studying a woman almost to win a class is awesome. I'm so happy for her and for the women in motorcycles. But yeah, we are changing it maybe a little bit. And I don't know, I just put the helmet and go. I don't think I'm a girl and I cannot do it. If no, I didn't stay here since last week.
Okay, it's not just you in the race, though. The Gomez family has Alfredo up front. We just saw this morning he's struggling a bit with the weather. How do you think he's getting on?
Yeah, well, he's good on the rain, but honestly, there is a few English boys. He wasn't feeling so good as yesterday or the day before, but now I saw he's leading. I'm all time with the phone, pushing from here. I know he can do it. Let's see. I'm proud of him anyway. He has a good week. Second day was so good. He can do it.
Yeah, you'll be a little bit more proud of him if he wins.
Yeah, sure. This race is the hardest race that he won Erzberg a few years ago, and win here, it's incredible.
Okay, but as you said, he's up against the Brits in the rain. That's a big ask, Paul.
Absolutely, and you know what? Just going back to the stamina, what it takes to do this race, and day on day is the big problem. But, you know, I'm ill for 2 weeks usually after this race, just completely drained, so that's how much it takes out of your body. It's not all about just twist the gas and the bike takes you up the hill at all.
Okay, we're going to hand you back to commentary now with Pat Parnell and Daryl Curtis.
Thank you, guys, as we take a look at the ramp. And, yes, another Gomez in the mix. And I think the culprit for Sandra might have been the drinking out of the creek. Could have been at least a contributing factor as we take a look, is trying to rein in a time. We saw Lettenbichler with this same approach.
Yeah, I think Sandra, definitely not an exhaustion thing. I think it was definitely something that she ate. But Alfredo Gomez getting up there, not too much trouble on the section. He would love to win Romaniacs, so he's never done it.
I'll tell you what, she pointed out, you know, two-time winner. You had that 1 year where had a group of riders win Erzberg, and one in 2015 as well. But Gomez definitely has all the ingredients, what you need to do well at something like Romaniacs. You would think it's just a matter of time, but when you have a field that's just stacked, and when you have time differentials, as we pointed out, minute and a half, 2 minutes, it could be anyone's competition at this point. As Lettenbichler on top, so it's a bit of a shift right now, and Gomez right now just under a minute 30. What's your immediate reaction when you see something like that?
It's nothing. I saw Letty had a good run up the last hill that we saw him on ventilator, so it's no surprise. But 1 minute 27 is absolutely nothing in these conditions. Just going back to Alfredo Gomez, you know, he's won Erzberg. He's tied it. He's got 3 Lagares wins under his belt. Never won a Romaniacs. And wouldn't it be great if he did? It's a very close race. Any one of 3 guys can win this race.
Definitely. If any of these riders, if they falter at any point, you can bet that the rest of the pack right behind them is going to take full advantage of that. As keeping our eyes
on this little section.
Johnny Walker also.
And taking time to assess. So a very, very close differential between our top 5. But then we're seeing a little bit of a break between the pack.
Johnny hasn't a good run up there at all. He's probably going to want to go back down and try it again, unless he manages to find some traction there.
And you can see...
He'll be okay. He'll get out all right.
Looks like Jarvis, too. That could have been Jarvis up in the left-hand corner. Yeah, so Jarvis up in the left-hand corner. And unfortunately for Walker, little out of his flow as someone that's found success here at Romaniacs.
No, Johnny's found a good line out there. Manny had a really good run up there. If you see the rest of the guys struggling, then to get your line perfect, that's why I spent so much time at the bottom, riding around in circles, just choosing the best line that he could, and he absolutely nailed it.
And it's interesting. There's some riders that have that innate ability to find lines where it's, it's a puzzle. And guys like Manny, they make it look a little too easy.
But also, it's also your physical condition at that point as well.
Right.
How tired are the guys? And if you're tired, you can so easily make a mistake.
Well, we are still in the midst of the last hour and a half. We expect the bronze class to be coming into this finish area right around 11:30, because we'll be bringing all the iron, bronze, and silver here to this finish area. As you can see, the fans starting to filter in. They know we'll be crowning a champion here at the 16th running of Red Bull Romaniacs. And taking a look back at Alfredo Gomez, his morning, taking a look back at earlier footage. This shows you the varied terrain here. A little bit drier earlier. Riders were hoping that rain was going to hold off. It did nothing but.
Now, the rain started about half an hour into the day after the liaison. Once they got to the start, about half an hour in, we started getting rain, and it wasn't a soft rain. It was quite a torrential rain. It dropped a lot of water in a short amount of time. Conditions are still looking pretty good over here. You can see there's still lots of traction on the forest floor. As they got higher and higher, conditions starting to get worse and worse.
And it's interesting looking at Gomez's year, 7th in Lagares, Trefla like 26, but he's really starting to find his rhythm right outside of the top 3 in Eresberg and Hispana, a second. So just kind of starting to find that rhythm, and a really good time to peak season-wise if you're talking midway.
You can't really see the steepness of these downhills over here, but there's still lots of traction. And this is quite a stony, grippy part of the track, but some of them are really, really slick in the forest. And when it rains, the guys can't stop themselves on these downhills. And we've seen a lot of guys in the other classes injuring themselves on these downhills.
Well, he's awfully comfortable with speeds. He's proven time and time again, a 2012 junior world champion. And this was that section that we were just leading into that steep section where a lot of riders were having problems
had a really
with.
good run up there.
Yeah. And a quick touchdown. It's amazing to get the POV footage and know these riders a little rubbing his racing. I just want to point that out, right?
I saw a really good one with Mario Roman, bumping a couple of guys, and he was, oh, sorry, bro, but it was just hilarious to watch. It was on Red Bull Motorsports. Really good clip. You've seen this before a little bit earlier today. Alfredo going into ventilator section. And that's what I was talking about. You can see the difference in the terrain there, how much wetter it is over there. And, of course, this is really steep. Well, this section is on the way home now. This is Wolf's Nest, a really, really difficult section. Lots of switchbacks. It's super steep, lots of rock, and very, very slippery. There's Manny Lettenbeckler in picture right now. Let's see how he gets on.
And Wolf's Nest with Lettenbeckler trying to maintain the lead and grab his first ever Red Bull Romaniacs win. Just minutes separate him and the rest of the pack, the top 5, close on his heels. And what an interesting course line. What are they thinking, Daryl? Come on.
Just trying not to make any mistakes before the finish.
Yeah.
In sections like this, it's so easy just to lose a wheel and slip down a section. Also, it happened to Mario Roman yesterday. He slid all the way down, got to a point, went to collect his bike, bumped it, and it went down another 30 meters, and he lost a good couple of minutes. He says about 8 minutes in that.
Well, not to mention time also, and you've seen it time and time again, damage to bike. I mean, you can really do when
Teddy's fuel hose.
Yeah, so start tomahawking, you're gonna do some damage.
Anything can happen really quickly. A big pity about Wade Young, of course, going out with a broken foot.
Defending champ, and he was also looking really comfortable in prologue, and just that one little injury, and what that does, you know, having to make that hard decision, that is a decision none of these guys take lightly. We should point that out. To basically admit, okay, I'm not going to ride, not going to push through the pain.
He did. He tried to ride it out, but I mean, the pain eventually gets to a point where you can cause serious damage to yourself, and he opted to withdraw, save himself for the rest of the season.
So looking back on Ventilator, this was earlier action here with the gold class riders.
Carpathian.
And Ventilator was that.
That's Nathan Watson there at the moment, and of course Nathan's got a motocross background. He switched over to Hard Enduro, and he had to learn the hard way. He did Erzberg last year, he did Romaniacs, and what a great kid. And let's see how he gets on up Ventilator.
So this is live coming in from Ventilator. Should point out, as you mentioned, Nathan Watson having a wet, muddy morning here in the Carpathians. Yeah.
In 2018 was his first Romaniacs. He got a 16th place. Quite admirable, I think, for your first time out.
I think there's a lot of people, too, like when he made the jump to Enduro, were really impressed how comfortably he adapted. I mean, he's comfortable with speeds, but what do you take on, you know, Nathan's ability to acclimate and become, you know, that chameleon approach to Enduro? Because it does take almost every single riding muscle.
No, it does. It's a total transformation of your riding. He's a beach race specialist and a motocross specialist, and coming across here, WESS Series really appealed to him. So it's going to take a while, but I think he's going to do really well.
So checkpoint 10. These are the standings in the gold class. Lettenbichler still on top. Gomez, I mean, we are talking a minute-and-a-half differential. Jarvis in third. Lazuziak looking for his first ever finish here at Romaniacs. And Johnny Walker rounding out the top 5. So interesting, but you see the time difference there with Lazuziak, Walker. Obviously, those riders facing a little bit more difficulty. We don't know what went down in the woods. I'm sure we'll get the download come finish time.
And the top guys being so close, and this is after more than almost 20 hours in the saddle.
Yeah, you could see it on their faces. You know, we ran into Johnny Walker, Graham Jarvis, Billy Bolt. They wear it on their face. You can't hide it at this point. You start with prologue on Tuesday, and this the 4th day of off-road, and it's just a brutal assault, physically and mentally. And there's also the bike aspect, and you got to hand it to all the crews that are out here supporting it. It takes a team.
And of course, this is our winner of the knockouts, and of course, Nathan finished third overall at Le Trèfle this year. You know, he kicked off his season with Lagares. He got a 25th there, and a 22nd at Erzberg, and 13th at Hispania. And he's currently lying 9th in the WESS Championship at the moment. And if you look at somebody like Graham Jarvis, who knows that he's not good at all the fast races, so he skipped Treff, for example.
Well, we should point out, this is the slowest you'll ever see Nathan, right? The slowest he'll ever be going.
Yeah, there's so much talent here. You know, his big mate was Joseph Garcia. And, you know, if you watch those two out on a motocross track or on a cross test, man, the speed is just unbelievable. And they are so strong at races like a Red Bull knockout.
As you got better with Red Bull Romaniacs, what were some of the things, adjustments you did to not dehydrate mentally, physically? What were some of the tricks of the trade so you could come in your strongest on day 5?
Well, you've got to be really careful about what you eat. That's clear. And then in your camelback, electrolytes, you know, rehydrate packs, all that kind of thing, to keep your body sustained throughout the race and to keep supplying those valuable minerals that you sweat out. Because when the tank's empty, the tank's empty.
Yeah. So Billy Bolt now approaching Ventilator. You mentioned dealing with a little bit of bronchitis, so not in top form, but nonetheless, even Billy Bolt at 80, 70%, still a threat. as he's coming into ventilator. And this is a section that's really challenging all the guys coming into it. We had quite the bottleneck earlier.
Chatting to Billy, he's just in survival mode at the moment. He's not really going to lose a position here. He's got very comfortable, and that bronchitis he's had, it's been there for a couple of weeks, and he just hasn't recovered.
And here's what's at stake also for Billy Bull. As we mentioned, we're currently midway through the WESS season, and Billy Bull coming into this event in 5th place. So a strong finish here would just maintain his threat looking towards the end of the season. It is a stamina-infused march. It's season-long to be able to be called a WESS Enduro Series champion.
And just to go back for the WESS Championship, it's 1,000 points for a win here. Second is 850 points, third 770, and so on. So it's a large amount of points to rack up.
Yeah. Well, and two, regardless of feeling sick physically, mentally, these guys don't know how to quit. They really don't. It's a gear that they're not aware of. As looking back at Wolf's Nest, and this one is just treacherous. I mean, megalodon-sized teeth. You guys having to navigate around a very, very tight back and forth as Taddy Blazusiak hoping to finish his first ever Red Bull Romaniacs. With the winner of the prologue has won almost every contest out there. Romaniacs yet to be one of them, which is a surprise when you look at the career of Taddy Blazusiak, one of the most decorated riders in Enduro's history.
Absolutely. In Hard Enduro, of course, he's won Erzberg 5 times. He's a 6 times winner of the FIM World Indoor Enduro Cup, 5 times winner of the AMA Enduro Cross Championship. He's got 4 X Games gold medals, and just so much super talent there. And a long race like this, of course, he's used to the shorter races, like an Enduro Cross event where he just dominated for so many years. And this is a big switch up from that.
Well, the current leader in the WESS standings, they call him the Carpathian King. He is still in the hunt with Lettenbichler out front. Can Graham Jarvis make his way to the front here as we take a look at Gomez? Stay with us. Much, much more to come here from the Carpathian Mountains and the 16th running of Red Bull Romaniacs. And you are looking at the silent assassin not being so silent here in Wolf's Nest. Yes, that is Graham Jarvis in the hunt for a historic 7th Red Bull Romaniacs win. And a tight differential between Gomez, Lettenbichler, Jarvis, all in the hunt, taking top honors here, but closely behind Johnny Walker as we see Johnny trying to make his way up Wolf's Nest, a very treacherous back and forth, a very precarious sidestep, off-camber traverse over these rocks. As we are back here live in Romania for Red Bull Romaniacs, the 16th running. And can Jarvis grab a historic 7th? Can Manuel Lettenbichler match his dad's win, which happened 10 years ago to this day here at Red Bull Romaniacs and live at Ventilator as the rest of the field continue to struggle? And this mountain just humbling the sport's best as Nathan Watson in that same section. It's that one section that then banks across double fall line, heavily rooted.
I'm just looking for that rope right now.
Yeah.
I hope that rope is still there for Nate, because it's going to be very, very welcome to get a little bit of help up this hill. And we saw a little bit earlier there, Johnny Walker staying on Graham Jarvis as well. I'm just wondering if Graham's not possibly starting to fatigue a little bit.
Oh, yeah, in terms of that distance, we'll have to see when times come in. There was, up to that point, we saw a very, very tight window between Gomez, Lettenbichler, and Jarvis. So as times come in at the next check, we'll be updating you as we get numbers. But up to that point, I think we were all a little surprised just how neck and neck those three were.
Yeah, it's super close racing. This is anybody's race, but I'd like to see when they come out of this if there's any gaps.
And we should point out too, as long as Jarvis beats Gomez and then looking at those times, then he could potentially, even if Lettenbichler finishes first, it could go Jarvis's way. But it's like I said, we have to get out the abacus as we're taking a look at Billy Bolt here, and just these subtleties, being able to move a bike around when you're on your 5th day of competition.
So just that little trick that you saw Billy doing over there, just using the back wheel, just getting that little bit of a bite just to pivot turn his bike. Those are some of the key ingredients that you need to be a superstar at Hard Enduro. The rest of our guys in the classes in the iron, bronze and silver, these are all the little tricks that they're trying to learn to improve. But these guys have got it, man. To get up these hills, and they're so difficult, and I'd really like to see what Billy makes of this one.
Well, these are the tricks that you've learned in the field, putting hours and hours. To get to this level of riding, it doesn't come overnight.
So Billy's going to go in there, he's going to pivot turn his bike around because he wants a proper run up. He's got to go up and turn to the left. And as more and more bikes go through here, it starts getting more and more slippery. There's a bit of groove, for sure, that forms in some places, but for the most part, it destroys any bit of traction that you might have found.
Well, as we pointed out, simultaneously as the gold class, as we're looking at Billy Bolt here, the rest of the classes, iron, bronze, and silver. And as we mentioned, we anticipated the bronze class coming into the finish arena, and it is a natural arena as we look at the fans starting to assemble in the final climb as the bronze class have made their way, and that's a look at the hill. And we expect a lot of missed attempts, hopefully some successful climbs on that final climb. Dry, it is a challenging hill climb for most. You throw in a little Romanian morning shower, it's that much more difficult.
And this is not the main climb yet, it's one of the climbs on the side of the quarry. So yeah, things are going to really start getting interesting. Back in the shot there, Manny Lettenbechler, he's by Wade's Rock. They're going up the climb this year. That's of course where Wade Young 2 years ago, he had that big crash on the downhill of that climb. This is a super steep climb, very rocky, slippery rock at the bottom, and it starts zigzagging its way up, where they're managing to find a little bit of traction, but definitely not an easy climb.
So taking a look at our finish as the bronze competitors start to work their way in.
Of course, the bronze route in and around the quarry, a lot easier than the silver, and again, the silver a lot easier than gold. There is one super difficult climb for gold. It's on the right-hand side of the climb. We've got a camera position there. It's going to bring us lots of action.
And you can imagine, when you're this close, you can hear the fans. You've got this final climb section.
So this is the main climb. There was super soft sand the other day. It's a little bit like river sand. They should be able to find some nice traction over there. And of course, the bronze riders peeling off a little bit earlier than the rest of the field. Silver will go higher and gold will go all the way to the top.
So jumping back into the trees as we get back to ventilator, and it's unbelievable how much some of these features, how much time they can end up eating.
That looks like it's Joseph Garcia going into the section. We can't see his number, but judging by the body size, I reckon that's Joseph Garcia.
Someone who used to going a little bit faster in these slower conditions, kind of regulating the field.
And basically untouchable in all of the special tests and everybody else. He won Treff. He was the first non-French rider to ever win Treff. Super talented, so good at motocross and so good at the classic enduro races.
And we should point out too, you know, antifreeze was supposed to be the big regulator equalizer. It got too wet, they took that out, and look at ventilator, that was supposed to be a piece of cake. So you can only imagine how hard it would have been if antifreeze had been left in the course for today.
Well, luckily somebody went out and rode the track this morning, and I can say that about Romaniacs. The organization is just incredible, you know, that they went out. There's David Cyprian coming into the picture right now, also having a fantastic race. The Czech rider also coming in to ventilator.
Yeah, been in the top 10 hunt this week. Cyprian definitely in form at this year's Red Bull Romaniacs. And ventilator, it's unbelievable as they turn, bank around in this section that he's kind of forced to this double fall line that banks to the right up here around this corner is when it gets, just even the off-camber traverse right there.
And David started, he was 8th overall this morning, having a really good run. And, you know, he's doing the whole WESS series. He got a 13th in Lagares. He was 22nd at La Tref, 18th at Hertzberg, and 16th at Hispania. And he's currently 14th in WESS at the moment. He was 7th last year at Romaniacs. And let's see if he can beat it this year.
I mean, when you're in the top 10 and you're in the hunt with this field, it's got to do wonders for your confidence.
And there's in the foreground there, Joseph Garcia, short legs, not really good for hard enduro, but a super talented rider. And let's just see how he gets up if he manages to stay ahead of David Cyprian at the section.
I mean, at this point, when you've had this many riders to go through ventilator, it's just got to be ripped to shreds.
Yeah, it's just absolutely worse and worse. So I think from 5th place down becomes so much more difficult to get up.
So we'll be checking back in. As we mentioned, a very, very tight battle on the top spot between Lettenbichler, Gomez, and Jarvis, waiting for those final times.
Joseph, of course, he finished 4th in WESS last year. He finished 15th at Romaniacs last year, 17th at Erzberg. And he's had a really good season so far, of course. 14th at Lagares, he won Treff. He finished 9th at Expania. And he's currently lying 6th in WESS at the moment. He's 565 points behind our leader, Graham Jarvis.
Yeah, the win at Treff, I think, was the biggest smile I ever saw out of him. He was loving that, and a historic win at that, as you pointed out.
Joseph was also won ISD, the International 6 Enduro in France. So it just shows you the level of his riding. And you know, these beach races, Red Bull Knockout, and the classic enduros play into his hands. I don't think there's anybody quicker than him at the moment on the circuits when it comes to these races.
The sand, the way that it eats up the competitors, it's one of the most amazing things to see.
Yeah, Nathan Watson and Joseph are really, really good mates. And of course, Nathan at the Red Bull Knockouts, he's won it before. He's really good in the sand.
Well, good news for the competition, but a little bit of the damage has been done. A bit of respite from the rain here, so the rain pulling back won't really impact in terms of things drying up, but you can see just how much moisture has just socked the inside trails here as these rest of the pack trying to make their way on the final day of competition here at Red Bull Romaniacs.
And Joseph, we can see the body language there. He's really, really tired. I think he'll be just happy, super happy to finish, get to the finish line, and just go and rest.
Any little mental tricks you used to tell yourself in terms of like the not giving up part? What's the mental carrot at the end of the stick that you would always tell yourself?
I don't know. Just giving up was never an option for me.
You're South African.
I think it's in that DNA of every hard enduro rider.
Yeah.
You'll push yourself until you vomit. Literally, giving up's not an option, Pat.
Well, there it is, straight from Daryl Curtis. If you think you have what it takes to jump into enduro, I've got a good buddy of mine, lives in St. Louis. He rides on the amateur level, and he's got the same gene as you do. He loves to struggle. Doesn't mind if he has to end up getting to the point where he throws up in his own helmet. So be it. And
a lot of guys make a mistake of coming to Romaniacs and they choose the wrong class. They'll think that they're going to do a bronze or a silver, but and sometimes maybe they bite off a little bit more than they can chew.
Yeah.
And everybody has a lot of fun at this race. I think it's the best hard enduro riding terrain in the world, and for me, it's the best place that I've ever ridden in the world.
Romania.
And
that's saying a lot. You've been all over the world, and I love too how with the WESS series and in events like this, it's self-regulated. Like you said, it's really people choosing their own level and learning with each year. I mean, and just even trying to finish, adding your name to that illustrious list that you've actually finished at Romaniacs, you can hold your head up high.
And I just want to say now, like, if you can see these two guys, how tired they are at the moment. So they're resting. They're going to get their heart rates down, and they're really struggling. And at the pace that the top guys manage to clean the section, it just puts it into perspective for you that these riders, how good they are, and they're struggling here right now.
So obviously, winning is not at stake right now for these riders, but just finishing is. How much time do you give yourself for that refractory, that kind of refresh period?
Well, it just depends on your heart rate and your overall body condition at the time. But if you're super fit, then you need less than a minute to get your heart rate down to a fairly decent level. And if you try to push through that and ride while your body's peaking, if your heart rate's in the 150s pluses, then you're very likely to make a mistake.
So those of you just joining us as we look at the finish line, as our bronze, silver, and gold competitors will be making their way into the finish area. To bring you up to speed, as last checked in, Manuel Lettenbichler leading the charge, followed by Gomez and Jarvis. We'll wait till times become official. Lettenbichler, if he wins here today, well, he'll celebrate a little extra harder because his dad, Andreas Lettenbichler, won here 10 years ago. Amazing story there. Now for Gomez, it would be a historic win too, and a surge of adrenaline for him in his hunt for the WESS Series. Now for Jarvis, it would be history in the making. A historic 7-time win if he's able to do it here today. And also for Jarvis, WESS standing implications obviously at stake, as the area around Ventilator just continues to just dole out just a punishing toll on these riders.
Joseph making his way through there. So we've had 7 different winners at Romaniacs. Graham Jarvis, of course, winning it 6 times. We had Cyril Dupre winning it 3 times. Johnny Walker twice. We had Michel Gau, Andreas Lettenbichler, as we've just spoken about, 2009. Chris Birch, and of course Wade Young last year.
I want to talk about the year you made the podium. You know, how, what year was that?
Those were the early days. That was 2005. Of course, Cyril Dupre won. I managed to get myself in the 3rd spot. But I can tell you now, the race has changed a lot since then. I've got 8 starts, 8 gold finishes. I've got a podium. But I can tell you now, if I went out there, I think they would destroy me. I know they would destroy me.
No, yeah, like you said, it has changed a lot. As we look at Ventilator earlier today, Billy Bolt, I think the facial disgraceful says it all. Just a punishing just impact of Ventilator. The conditions, the rain just decided to unload on this mountainside today. And look at the eyes, the steely focus, trying to make it up. Such a treacherous slope. Very, very vertical at the top, and then that off-camber double fall line switch. And only the best of the best have been able to navigate it fairly with a slight amount of finesse. When we look at Jarvis, makes it look easy.
Yeah, and then we got, you know, Johnny Walker. He's starting to struggle a little bit over there. Alfredo Gomez passing him on the outside. And, you know, you can see their body language. They're also tired. And, you know, the image we saw just now of old Joseph, he's really, really tired. And, you know, they've just got to get up and over that section. And they've still got to contend with Wolf's Nest. But the majority of the day will be over. And they'll have the finish line in sight.
Yeah. Well, the smart, the grizzled veterans. I love when we talk about Graham Jarvis. He says, yeah, I know I'm not the youngest, you know. Or he said, I might be the oldest, but I'd like to think I'm the most experienced. And we saw him getting a toe there. He's so calculated. He plays this 4-dimensional slow motion chess. You never see. He's got such the poker face.
He does have.
You never see what's coming with Graham Jarvis. Such an incredible competitor. You could, you know what? In terms of enduro, if we compare it to NFL, he's maybe the Tom Brady. He's definitely showing that he's got many more years left in the tank. The Carpathian King, Graham Jarvis. We'll have to see if he can hold on. But still looking at footage of earlier today at Ventilator.
And that's Nathan Watson,
yeah.
You know, getting a bit of help up there. You know, he's ahead of his mate, old Joseph Garcia, so I wonder what he's going to have to say about that tonight. But for sure, these lads are such good mates that they're going to be definitely celebrating here in Costa Rica.
Well, we can continue to watch the finish line anxiously as we watch a battle between Lettenbichler, Gomez, Jarvis for those top spots. Definitely quite some time out the back was Blazuziak and Johnny Walker, as we saw Johnny Walker still battling with Ventilator just moments ago. So interesting as we'll have to see things unfold here. But this, I can guarantee, we'll be crowning a Romaniacs champion as we watch the rest of the field. Bronze and silver class will be starting to make their way into this climb here. And this is telling. You can just see the focus. What's going through his mind right now? Make sure you got that right gear and that first little kick.
And I can tell you now, he's just so happy. Anybody that comes in and they see the finish line, man, they know they've just got this climb. Of course, they've still got the seesaw to do.
And jumping in with Gomez live as we're back on course with the gold class. And over at Wade's Rock, that 94.3 kilometer loop through the trees. You can see the fans getting right up and close.
Super steep climb, but it's not so long. Probably around 200 meters to the top. but there's lots of ziggy-zaggies, lots of switchbacks, and that's really, really tough.
See, ziggy-zaggy sounds fun, but when you look at ventilator and those, and speaking of ventilator, Ulteris heading into ventilator as the rest of the gold class starting to make their way.
That's Sunny Gogia.
Sunny Gogia I spoke too soon there.
Could be. Let's just have a look at his number and just make sure that we're right. Yep.
Okay.
My mistake. Polteris it is.
Polteris.
You're on the money.
Now a little mud. You had me. There we go. Yeah, so entered this final day of competition in 10th place. Polteris was looking so strong in the prologue, and then moving into that first and second day of competition. An incredible rider on all fronts.
Of course, his dad, Jordi Terrace, sorry, not his dad, his uncle, has been a multiple world trial champ as well, and Paul's been riding trials from a very young age.
And we've seen it time and time again, just that trials background, how it really bodes well if you're going to do well throughout the WESS Series. Helps if you're fast, helps if you're all the other components, but without that trials experience, you're definitely missing one of the bigger tools in the toolbox.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And Jordi won the World Outdoor Trials Championships for 7 years, and it just makes me think of Tony Bow again. With 16 world titles, Dougie Lampkin, 12 trials world titles, and if Tony Bow had to come here to Hard Enduro, it would be very, very interesting.
And help me if you can, for those that are just jumping in. This might be their first enduro contest they're watching around the world. Trials, simply put, how would you break it down to the
It changed the game completely, because all of the enduro riders in the very, very beginning started to do the Romaniacs, and then it became hard enduro. They made it more and more difficult, especially Erzberg and Romaniacs, and then the trials guys started coming, and they changed the game completely.
Yeah, just that ability.
The level just catapulted.
Yeah. That ability to be able to go over, whether it be a rock, a boulder, it's that slow motion effect, incredible bike balance, a focused skill set that, like I said, it goes for miles in hard enduro and events like this. So, yeah. The final climb for the bronze, silver class, and yes, the gold class will be making their way into the pit, the final arena, the final climb. More of this when we return to the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs right after this. We are moments away from making a little bit of history here in the Carpathian Mountains. It is the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs, and some great footage high above with a helicopter catching all the action with the gold class in hot pursuit of making a little history. Graham Jarvis, if he wins here today, it'll be a historic 7th win, but he's got the likes of Gomez, Lettenbichler in front of him. Now, for Lettenbichler, can we talk about the time differential here, Daryl? Does it get any tighter? You cannot write a better script.
There's absolutely nothing in it. The difference between Wade Young and Manny last year was just over 2 minutes, and I think we're going to see a similar thing here this year. It's going to be nail-biting, this finish. Who is it going to be?
Well, we're about to find out. Wade's Rock, we jump back again with live competition as the rest of the field, Blazusiak and the others, start to make their way towards Wade's Rock, but out front, Gomez making up for some ground, as those of you that are just jumping in, followed by Lettenbichler and Jarvis. Jarvis obviously would have to overtake Gomez and Lettenbichler at this point, as Lettenbichler just seconds back behind. Tadej Blazusiak, what a week it's been for him. And as we pointed out earlier in the broadcast, he has yet ever to finish a Red Bull Romaniacs. If he does it today, it will be his first.
You can actually see it's starting to dry up a little bit there. Maybe this area didn't get as much rain as the rest. It's still looking quite good. There's lots of traction over there, and really, really steep. You saw him with a couple of the switchbacks earlier on. Not much further till they're out at the top of this climb.
So you can imagine Blazusiak, as we talked about, his amazing resume over the years. And you hate, as a rider, I can only imagine just to have that one event that you've never been able to finish. Imagine what a monkey off his back that'll be for Blazusiak. When, and then, mind you, coming out of retirement to do just that.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why Teddy came back, because he went into retirement in 2017. And again, the WESS Series worked things up a little bit for him. I think he was possibly a little bit bored and a new challenge, and he definitely wants to finish.
I love that. Yeah, the interview after prologue, he's like, I was 32, I had nothing to do. Oh, okay. Oh, and you happen to be one of the best enduro riders on the planet, so yeah, maybe I should jump back into the mix.
Would have been a complete waste if he'd given up. Yeah. That's for sure. Lots of fans out there. Of course, Dieter Rudolph, he was 17th in Romaniacs last year. He's got a 13th in Erzberg this year. And yeah, he's an Austrian rider, and he wants to do the whole of the WESS Series.
And I think there's a lot of Austrian fans too would love to see Dieter, find that podium come next year's Erzberg. He seems like he's steadily getting closer and closer. You'd love to see an Austrian take Erzberg, dude. Really, I think the whole country.
We're waiting
from
for it.
Styria on across they'd erupt.
Of course, Aussie Rising always takes the rocket ride, but absolutely, there's yet to be an Austrian.
There's so much talent in the Austrian field. You're just waiting for them to strike. But we shift gears back to Romania and Red Bull Romaniacs. One of the most punishing, they call it the mother of enduros, as we take high above a look at Lettenbichler driving it down the Sibiu fields. 100+ kilometers, and this is where you get into that moto mode.
Typical stretch coming back into Sibiu. Lots of these open fields. That means that most of the difficult climbs are going to be over, and it's a straight run for the finish.
And when you see that on your GPS, you see those nice long straight lines. How good does that feel at this point?
Well, you know that all the hard work's over, and you've just got to pin it and make up as much time as you can before the finish. And of course, these are the areas that Graham Jarvis doesn't like. Although over the years he's really improved, he's got his speed up, and he's actually been pretty good on the fast sections this year, I must say.
It's been incredible to watch this amazing success for Manuel Lettenbichler in his career. Got his first trail bike when he was 5 years old. I mean, no surprise with a dad like Andreas Lettenbichler that he would become such a prominent, just destructive force in enduro, and to see his success. 2013, he switched from trails to enduro, and he's never looked back since. And he has been focused this past year. He's gone on record saying, I'm really, really focusing on my speed, and that looks like it's paying dividends here. When we look at these times, when you're staying in stride with the likes of Gomez, that's saying your training, the hard work that you're putting in, it's paying off.
Yeah, Manny's doing everything right, and I can see there's lots of hidden talent there, because it takes a lot more than hard work to get where he is. His level at the moment, the ability is just incredible.
And let me correct myself. I meant to say he switched from trials to enduro, but I'm moving so faster. I'm so excited. But we know that he was a trials rider before that.
And so are they on these sections.
Get caught up in my words here. And when we talk about the season so far, and we pointed it out at the top of the broadcast, Lettenbichler yet to find a win on that WESS, on the WESS podium, has a third in Lagares, a second in Erzberg, that fifth in Hispana. He is looking for that win, and if he does it here today, he will jump to the top of the WESS standings, moving as we look towards the end of the season. It'll all culminate at the Getson Rodeo come this fall. But what a massive accomplishment if he can find the win here today. We mentioned his dad, Andreas Lettenbichler. He won 10 years ago at Red Bull Romaniacs, and so good to see that amazing relationship between father and son. His dad working on his bike yesterday, just thanklessly, and so confident. You could see the pride in his face when it comes to Letty and his positive approach.
Yeah, he's got a super proud dad, that's for sure. And of course, Manny finished second in WESS last year. It was Billy Bolt that won it. And like we were talking about a little bit earlier, this really is the pivotal point of the series.
Yeah, but it is a season-long march. It could shift either way here. And the good news for all the fans out there, fret not, we will be bringing you the Getson Rodeo live on Red Bull TV as we take a great aerial perspective here of Manuel Lettenbichler trying to stay in tow. We mentioned Gomez prior to that, leading the charge time-wise out front. So keep your eyes on Lettenbichler as we expect some of the other riders from the bronze and silver classes to get lapped as Lettenbichler continues. And look at that blistering pace, trying to stay in step.
Of course, from here we go to Hawkstone Park, which is a cross-country. We go to Solsona, which is a classic enduro, and we finish up with the last hard enduro of the season, the Getson Rodeo. These fast sections over here the riders they've got to be a bit careful because they ride with really, really soft suspension and soft mousses to go up into these difficult foresty sections. So over here, they've got to be a bit cautious, trying not to run into any big holes or anything like that, because the handling of the bike is simply not what they're used to, how they normally run it on the fast sections.
Oh, and just talk about, you know, salt in a wound. If, you know, you go down on a section like this, when you're completely pinning, you can see an adjustment. And at this point, vital that you don't lose focus of that GPS. You stay on track.
You saw the little switch in the navigation over there.
Yeah.
So easy to make a mistake, and not so important over here. You can lose a couple of seconds, but if you make a mistake in one of the forests and you enter at the wrong place and go down a steep downhill, you can really land yourself in deep trouble.
Well, you talk to all the people in the Lettenbichler camp, and they are convinced that we are about to see the shift. If he gets the win here today, that it is going to be that Lettenbichler dominance that we've seen from Jarvis. And you know, you talk about you know, the kind of these chapters where one rider really is setting the pace, but he's definitely just getting started in his career, and that's the scary thing about Lettenbichler.
Definitely, and having a good run like he is at the moment, it's a massive confidence booster, and it makes you pretty much unstoppable. You know, chatting to Johnny, Johnny's had, he's got the super talent, but he's had so many injuries, and right now he's concerned about the plate in his wrist. All he wants to do is get the plate taken out, and he's terrified of falling on one of these sections and breaking his wrist again.
I mean, it is, at this point, is he physically taking advantage of, you know, relaxing a little bit, or is it completely pinned? Obviously, thinking about the injury factor, but is he enjoying this?
Well, I think he's nervous because he doesn't know time-wise what it means. I'm not sure if he can see the other riders around him or if he can gauge how far he is ahead. But yeah, I mean, he's just trying to go as fast as he can here. It's very slippery.
Well, permission to, you know, just get your opinion. 13-second. You saw the 13-second difference between him and Gomez. Have you ever seen such a tight battle at a Romaniacs towards the end?
No, I haven't. This is super tight, and of course we still have to take into account the starting times from this.
Yeah, we will. You know what? You're always so politically correct. I know you. Yeah, and I think those numbers are coming in official, all but official, but we'll call it official, as Lettenbichler just 13 seconds back, trying to gain ground on Gomez. And here's the bigger question, too. Where is Jarvis in all of this? We'll be keeping our eyes peeled for the silent assassin, 6-time winner of Red Bull Romaniacs, the Carpathian King, Graham Jarvis, out back in third when we last checked in. Behind him, it was Blazusiak and Walker, as we just watch this long, high-speed line from Lettenbichler.
Well, a super, super tight finish we can expect here. They've been seesawing backwards and forwards the whole day. Pat, who's your money on?
I'm gonna lean into Lettenbichler at this point. I think too, once we approach, when he loops back in and when we come towards the mountain section, I think we're gonna be looking at, I feel like 13 seconds is like that.
Willing to put a tenner on it?
Are we talking lays? Romanian lays?
Dollars?
10 Romanian lays. Yeah, maybe, perhaps. But here it is, Gomez, as we look at the overall results as times coming in, Lettenbichler closely behind, and now look at the gap between Jarvis. So Jarvis slowing things up a little bit. Are you a little bit surprised by that?
No, I actually expected it, because we saw on that climb on Ventilator, I think a lot of it was made over there, and then also in the Wolf's Nest, we saw the guy struggling there. So, but I didn't expect the gap to be that big.
Well, we're talking with a lot of the riders too. They said, you know, if it's really up to Lettenbichler and Gomez and the likes, I think too, there were some riders saying, you know, maybe expected a little bit more from Roman in this on this day of competition, but that's when Jarvis is most deadly. He needed to kind of capitalize on their mistakes, and he's slow and steady. He never wavers. But when you have Gomez and Lettenbichler laying down these times, that is a tough one to stay in step with.
Mario Roman was also a danger man here. It's his favorite race. Yeah, of course, he had a bad run last year, hurting his wrist on the prologue, and he finished second in 2017 and fourth in 2016. But he's also going to be up there on the leaderboard, and he's going to rack up some valuable WESS points.
Yeah, that's right. Roman in third coming into this race on the WESS standings. Jarvis in first, Lettenbichler in second, Roman in third, and Gomez and Bolt rounding out the 4th and 5th position. So it's all about that season-long march, and you can really get a good grasp of Sibiu. You've been here many, many times. What do you make of this shot?
Well, this is such a beauty shot, you know, and the riders will see it in the distance. And of course, the track now bypasses Sibiu, and it goes out onto the opposite side of the town to Costa Rica. So it's still going to take them some time to get there. Short liaison section in the middle, but when they restart, it's going to be hell for leather, a motocross start for Costa Rica.
I love hearing the stories too about you in the early days here. I mean, some of the things that you used to be able to see here in the city, in terms of the horse carts, and you know, obviously the city has changed over the years.
No, definitely. The progression over the last 15 years is incredible, and what a lovely place to visit. I would encourage anybody to come and have a look at Sibiu.
Progression in city and also progression in the riding, as you pointed out, because the level is just utterly ridiculous. Just to even make it to this final day, and to you know, be able to hold your head up high and get to this finish line, you're in less than the 1%.
Well, the fans are starting to get lots of action here as the bronze riders start attacking the climb. It's still wet and miserable out there. Not as many spectators as last year, but these ones that have braved the bad weather conditions certainly are Hard Enduro fans.
Well, you say wet and miserable. I think for all the guys competing, there's a part of them, they relish in it. They love these conditions to a certain point. And wow, look at that bottom section. It is just a bog.
He's lining himself up now for the climb. Let's see if he can make it up. Marco Faria from Brazil. Let's see if he can nail it. Oh, and just look how loose it's getting over there.
I mean, it's straight up soot at this point. And this will be interesting too to see, you know, the fact that this part of the hill has been just beaten.
Yeah, I mean, for the gold guys, they're going to need so much momentum to get up past where he is over there to where the spectators are standing there.
Yeah.
And then they're going to do that final climb, which is not a vertical ledge, but it gets pretty steep, and there's 1 or 2 little nasty holes in there. So key. Huge speed at the bottom, second into third if you can, and just keep it pinned.
And then to know that it's only 300 meters from the finish line, little insult to injury right there.
Well,
for the gold class.
They've still got quite a few more obstacles after that. They're going to come back down on the left side of the climb into the forest, and then they've got another big 3 steps to conquer before they reach the seesaw, which is going to be quite interesting, you know, in the finish.
Oh, wait till we you know, the spectators or people watching, the viewers get their eyes on that. A very narrow beam, which Paul Bolton says you're a complete idiot if you offer that. But the seesaw definitely might be the smarter tactic.
And back to ventilator now. There's still lots of action. You can see how loose and how bad it is right now. It's Mario Roman that we had in the picture there.
But the chase between Gomez and Lettenbichler. Gomez last checking in front. Lettenbichler close as we take a look above, and Gomez trying to just keep it pinned and distance himself. He knows Lettenbichler is not going to let up at this point.
I think both of them are just trying their hardest. I mean, every second counts. They really are going all out here. They know how close it is.
Yeah, and you can see passing some of the bronze and silver class competitors, and just that speed. I don't think there's anyone that would question Gomez's ability.
No, look, these guys are
to find the extra gear.
Super experienced guys. There's just simply nobody better than these guys in the world at the sport. This is the Olympics of hard enduro.
The mother of enduros, as they call it, and Alfredo Gomez looks to make a big win here and actually upset the balance with Jarvis and Lettenbichler. Jarvis, as we mentioned, slowing down just slightly, ever so slightly, a couple minutes back, but around just a minute back is Lettenbichler, close on the heels of Gomez. This is high above watching Alfredo Gomez, the Spaniard. We mentioned has had success at the Red Bull Hare Scramble in 2015, 2017, that tie year, and then obviously here at Romaniacs, has found every place on the podium except that top spot. Grabbed a second in 2016, a third in 2015. Imagine a win here, just to round out. Wouldn't it be nice just kind of round out the podium so you got every notch in the belt?
No, it would. I mean, he's had huge successes at Lagares, and of course he's won Erzberg. He started riding a trials bike when he was 3 years old, and he went on to win the 2007 and 2011 FIM Junior World Trials Championship.
Yeah, 2012, when you have that Junior World Championship title in your belt, that's what's so incredible to watch the career arcs of these riders, whether they came from trials or from more of a moto background, and then you see them all kind of thrown into the blender, the big Vitamix that is Hard Enduro. It's a great thing to see, because I mean, they all really represent so many incredible skill sets needed to do well on the WESS Series.
I love this championship because it's going to produce the all-rounder at the end of the year. Of course, Alfredo finished 11th in WESS in 2018. He was injured. He skipped Erzberg, Lagares, and Treff.
Oh, that's right. He had the recovery from. He said it was very tough and extensive recovery from that. It was a knee injury.
And then he came back for Romaniacs and he finished 5th. And he went on to finish 9th at Megawatt and 10 at Hawkstone. So really good recovery for him. But this year he's back to his usual form.
Joined the KTM factory team back in 2016, and we can see more riders on the course as they go through the Sibiu fields, and then they'll be approaching back up into the mountains, as we can see a big water feature here.
And then later on in Alfredo's career, he switched from KTM over to Husqvarna.
Yep. You got to keep track sometimes in between making the jumps. All these riders. In terms of his 2019 Romaniacs campaign on the prologue, just outside of the top 3 bubble in 4th, day 1 of the off-road, a 4th, first on day 2, and day 3 a 2nd. So finding all the top spots, and I don't think anyone is surprised to see the speeds and the times that he's been able to kind of lay down here today.
No, he's really in good form at the moment. And just looking down from the helicopter shots over here, it looks like it's all smooth, but I can tell you it's not. But it's rough out there. It's rough down there. There's lots of treacherous holes and ruts and things like that. It really is. It's so easy to crash on the way home on these stretches.
So trying to keep the focus, the eyes on the prize for Alfredo Gomez, leading the charge. Behind him, Manuel Lettenbichler, and last time we checked in, Graham Jarvis, Tadej Blazusiak, Johnny Walker were rounding out the top 5. We'll wait till we get updates on that. Mario Roman, when we last saw him, he was on ventilator in 6th place, followed by Billy Bolt, and we saw David Cyprian, and Paul Terrace just behind them. The rest of the bronze and silver class will be making their ways into the finish area as well. It has been 5 days of relentless competition, a challenge for every level, no matter the class, here at this year's Romaniacs, and a great aerial view. You can see the town of Sibiu. And Jarvis and Walker neck and neck along the fence line.
So, yeah, Jarvis will be hanging on to Johnny Walker's wheel because he doesn't like this fast stuff. And these two have been, on each other's wheels since Ventilator. So, I'm sure they've had a lot of fun together. I see Graham Jarvis has lost his goggles, and I noticed Billy Bolt earlier had lost his gloves.
Yeah, no tearaways, no gloves, no needed. And let's take a look at Graham Jarvis in his day. This was earlier today. Body language, what are you reading into this, and in terms of the times that you were seeing from Jarvis?
Well, Graham was still looking very good over here, but as I saw him going into Ventilator and then into Wolf's Nest after that, I could see that he was definitely getting fatigued because his skill sets, I saw 1 or 2 little mistakes over there in Wolf's Nest, and normally he wouldn't be making those mistakes. So I definitely think he's starting to get a little bit tired.
So you're saying there is a way to look at Jarvis and actually get some information.
He doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, no. But in terms of that poker face, but if you watch the riding, he has a couple of tells in terms of showing a little bit of fatigue.
Yeah, if you look at his body language over here and everything else, he's still riding. Normally, he's got lots of energy. But later on in the race, you could see that he was starting to take a bit of strain.
Well, Graham Jarvis, as we mentioned, coming into this battle today, leading the WESS Series standing points on the top spot, followed by Lettenbichler. So a good back and forth with them. With Gomez And his charge at the front will definitely, we anticipate the balance to be upset a bit as Gomez comes into this in 4th place with the overall standings. And earlier today, looking back at the exchanges leading out of the hills and then back into the climb section, that deft touch that Jarvis makes look so easy.
And that's what I was talking about with Graham Jarvis and Johnny Walker together. This was a lot earlier in the day, and they were together already, and it looks like they're going to be riding into the finish together at the end.
Yeah. So with Walker, who's found a victory here before, trying to find it again today, but it has been just like we've pointed out, a treacherous Romaniacs, and just a little insult to injury. Heavy rains this morning making the conditions much more difficult up here in the mountains.
And lots of little things like this on the way home still, you know, it's far from over. There's lots of tricky stuff on these little bits through the forest as you get closer to CBU as well.
And this has been the big ventilator. We've seen it, how it is divided and devoured a good chunk of the field. But Jarvis showing that being a 44-year-old has its benefits. A little bit smarter, ended up opting to get the quick toe as Walker sat idly by and watched Jarvis just pass him by. But then Walker able to reel him in, but some great back and forth between Walker and Jarvis. And we're seeing them now on the tail stretch in CBU Fields as they approach the finish line here with that final climb. And there's going to be some activity here. Let's keep that in mind.
Lots of activity.
Yeah.
This is going back to Graham Jarvis, you know, at 44, you cannot compete with the youth. You know, if you look at the youngsters coming up now, your energy levels are not the same anymore. So you have to rely on your skill set. And sometimes you just run out of energy.
Well, you say you can't compete with the youth, or can you? Because he has, and he's winning, and but it's being that smarter competitor. Yes, will they have more in the reserve tank? But are you smarter? How are you approaching it? And obviously he's doing something right, but there will be a point.
Everybody says that Graham Jarvis is done, and then he goes and wins Erzberg. He comes back, he wins Xpania, and a great result here at Romaniacs.
So
Gary Player there.
Yeah, Gary Player almost getting up over that edge where he's then able to bank right for our bronze and silver competitors. And this thing just turning into a sandbox, Daryl.
And of course, we've got a very good golfer. Everybody knows Gary Player from South Africa. And I don't think it's the same guy, though.
No, I think he hit just a double bogey on that corner. And you can see as the rest of the field start to make their way in, just nice shellacking of mud, gravel, grass, everything that the Carpathians have decided to unleash on these guys.
Yeah, we can see the seesaw. The balance beam is on the viewer's left-hand side and the seesaw on the right-hand side.
So opting for, the teeter-totter seesaw. And,
the safer version.
Yeah, and this is we were talking with Paul Bolton earlier, and he said it's vital in terms of that timing as you come down. If you overcook it, it'll toss the next teeter-totter up, and you're going to basically run into that.
To make it a bit more difficult, you've got two floating bridges there, so they're going to be moving around. You're going to make sure that you keep your balance, feet on the pegs, don't make any mistakes, or you're going to go swimming. And I think we might see a lot of that.
Nice.
A little bit later. Looks like he's nailing it.
That was perfectly clutch right there.
Andy Fazekas, of course, the designer of the teeter-totter. It looks like he's being quite kind to the guys this year.
And right there, able to hold his head up high. All of the finishers, as we point out, the fact that you can even finish a Red Bull Romaniacs. We talk about Paul Bolton, took him 3 tries. Lazuziak looks like he's well on his way. Last time we checked in, finally finishing. He had problems in the past, but just a punishing and unforgiving mountain.
Just having a look in Riders Briefing last night, I could just see that the room was half full. So a lot of guys have had their fill already, or some simply just don't go to Riders Briefing. They're tired. They try to get something to eat, and it's straight into bed. This race really is brutal. Whoa, it's going down! Whoa, there we can see the speed. It doesn't look fast when you're looking from the camera, but there you can see just how fast it is.
So you brought it up, Daryl. Obviously, so vital that you watch those speeds in those high-speed flat sections, and it's almost like you got clairvoyant again. Hopefully,
the back wheel just washed out there, and that was a classic crash.
Hopefully, a competitor there was okay. Obviously, looks like he's up on his own volition, back on the bike, just making sure everything. You do kind of a diagnostics check, do you not? Like, you're checking everything, wrist, feet, everything, GPS.
Most important at this stage, make sure the bike works.
Yeah,
People are there, everything's still good.
And hats off to our film crew and the helicopter pilot, grabbing great vision high above Seaview Fields here at Red Bull Romaniacs as we're live for the very first time. Looking back, what went wrong, what went right?
Back
Nothing
washed
went right.
out and a nice high side there, bit of a face plant and a barrel roll. But well executed. I would give him 8 out of 10 for that, Pat. What do you reckon?
You know what? When I see him, I'm buying that guy a beer later down in the pits. Incredible, because bronze and silver class, all of these competitors, that they start to make their way through. We always focus on that battle on the gold class, but these guys are legends. They are warriors, champions on the highest level. It's unbelievable what they're able to do, and let's just point out, they don't have the support as you watch these guys try to navigate through the teeter-totter section. They don't have the factory support. I mean, to get here, it's no easy task, and then to be able to compete at this level, no matter iron, bronze, or silver. So.
Come on, Georgie.
And watching the hill climb continue here as the bronze class and silver class continue just to get tested on this thing.
Well, we promised you lots of action over here, and it's going to start hotting up as more and more riders into the arena.
So Martin Weglarts of Poland has officially won the bronze class as we've been focusing on both competitions. So congrats goes to Marcin Weglarts, yes, the Polish rider, Team Euro rider, and hats off to him winning the bronze class. No easy task as we watch the rest of the bronze class, just even trying to navigate half of this final climb.
Well, I'm just dying to see who the gold class winner is going to be, Pat. It's not too far away now.
If you had to, I mean, last time we checked in, when you looked at the speed, when you looked at the speed between Lettenbichler, Gomez, Jarvis, I mean...
Don't put me on the spot, Pat. But I would say probably Manny Lettenbichler.
That's where I was leaning, but like I said, 30 seconds. He had a lot of time, and Gomez one of the fastest when it comes to those wide open assaults in terms of between him and Lettenbichler. But I'm going to agree with you and agree with myself. I'm going to agree with myself. 50 leg.
There's somebody having a go up the gold climb, so hats off to him.
And how about
you can see it's really loose sand at the bottom, and as you go up, you can see how slick that's become there. So that last little uphill over there, it's not something you're going to have to be able to ride up slowly. You need a lot of speed at the bottom to clear it.
I'm telling you, I'm at the edge of my seat waiting for Gomez, Lettenbichler to just attack this thing.
Okay, man.
Oh, there's number 302, Marius Muntean from Romania.
Wow, that is a smart push, though. Got the bike up there.
There you can see just how loose that sand is at the bottom there.
Every foot of vertical counts here at Romaniacs. And it's really, they've really built some little treacherous corners, some nooks and crannies here, and just putting these guys to the final test. And like a little insult to injury, keeping that finish line always in your sights, but you got to deal with this stuff.
Yeah, it's the last little. You can still hurt yourself here. You can still damage your bike. I mean, just look at how steep that is over there. So.
Philip Schultz coming into ventilator, as we pointed out earlier. It's this section that really has kind of widened the field and the gaps in between. Really been the great divider. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. The fact that they pulled antifreeze out, it was even a more challenging step section with no lead-in. Just due to those heavy rains, the decision was made. They're going to remove that, shorten the course slightly, and just with ventilator and a handful of other sections that these guys have just been struggling through.
Philipp Scholz, 27 years old, from Germany. He was 23rd at Erzberg 2019, and he's finished Erzberg 5 times. In 2016 and 2017, 4th at Red Bull Motorsports. So a very accomplished rider, no stranger to hard enduro.
You're here in the gold class. You're in the, I'm going to say it. You're here in the silver class, bronze class, even the iron class. You're an accomplished rider to be able to come and finish in Romaniacs. But the gold class definitely another level here. It's unbelievable when you see the difference compared to each class and then each section and how they navigate it and the ease, that deft touch. You know, it's really telling too, watching Jarvis, the way he navigates through these things without really exerting too much energy.
And these guys are all accomplished riders, and if they're struggling like this, then you've got to have so much respect for the guys that came out in front, the Manny Letterbichtlers and the Gomez's and the Graham Jarvises of the world, because you know, Philipp's a really, really good rider, and you can see how the guys are struggling on the slam, on the ventilator. It really is brutal.
So as you watch here in the commentator booth, what do you miss the most when you're watching this? What's the thing that you miss the most about not being out there as a competitor?
No, well, I did it for a long time, and I must say, you know, I really enjoy riding with my mates on Sundays and things like that. But there's just something about Romaniacs that I miss, and I think it's just the awesome terrain, these forests. We don't get to ride in forests like this in many places around the world, and yeah, to be able to challenge yourself to get up some of these never-ending hills, I think that's what it is. It's just to challenge yourself.
Does the beauty of the location ever kind of dull the senses and you kind of forget the pain, or is the pain always there, kind of front and center?
No, the pain's always there. It never goes away. But it's nice to look around, and yeah, and just, you know, you got to just try to find traction and try not overexert yourself. And every single moment of your day, just planned, calculated. When you keep your heart rate down.
And not to, I know everyone gets in a habit of this, like comparing like Roof of Africa and this event, but that the cumulative, you know, sweat equity and the mental and physical fortitude needed. What's, you know, how does Romaniacs separate itself compared to other events when it comes to that, with the accumulation factor?
It's the longest rally.
Yeah.
So even the Roof of Africa is a super extreme hard enduro, but it's 3 days long. Erzberg is the 1 day. This one is, it's not a 1 day or a 3 day, it's a 5 day, and you've got to prepare yourself properly for it.
Yeah.
And every minute of the day, just conserve energy, but you need to keep your speed up, don't get stuck anywhere, don't break your bike. There's just so many factors that come together to be a champion at Romaniacs.
Well, we're seeing the rest of the gold class, and as we've seen earlier, the bronze class. We do have a winner on the bronze class, as Marcin was able to come in and grab the win there, and we'll bring you following results on the bronze, silver, and gold class. Last time we checked in, Gomez had a blistering pace, and Lettenbichler now making his way to the road as he starts to wind his way back up. How much ground has he made up? That's the big question. Gomez still out front time-wise as we'll wait for timing updates, but a great back and forth between Gomez, Lettenbichler. For Lettenbichler, as we pointed out, if he wins here today, it'll be his first wins, top of the podium win, something he wants so badly, but a little extra special as his dad, Andreas Lettenbichler, won Romaniacs 10 years ago. And for Gomez, he's found every place on the podium except first here at Red Bull Romaniacs. So something at stake for everyone. And for Jarvis, if something crazy was to happen, as we see that Jarvis was slipping a little bit farther back, he's won 6 Red Bull Romaniacs. I mean, just wrap your head around that. And if he were to win here today, a historic 7th, I would say something that would probably never get eclipsed.
Yeah, I think to win that many races in this era is unheard of. But I think I'm super interested to see now who comes out in front here. I really think Benny and Alfredo, it's going to be less than a minute between them.
Coming out of the Cebu fields, though, you have to think: is there an area where Lettenbichler would have the edge?
No, it's just a straight-out race along these pathways.
Yeah.
Until you get into Cebu to that decontrol, and they're going to restart the final push for Gustarita, but I think closer racing like this at Romaniacs, I don't think we've seen.
Well, it's a great back and forth between Lettenbichler and Gomez. We'll keep you updated on the rest of the field. Last time we checked in, we pointed out Graham Jarvis was in third, Tadej Blazusiak. There was a back and forth between then Johnny Walker overtaking him and Billy Bolt. So we'll keep you updated in a great aerial shot, just how dense the trees are. Just a beautiful, beautiful area of the world. You have farms below you. You get up into the Carpathian Mountains and you feel like you're floating on air. Walking around the town of Sibiu, so much history you can feel. It kind of echoes. You, you know that there's generations upon generations that have come before you. And
slight navigational mistake over there. Just missed the left turn. Quick to recover though. But absolutely, the city and the country has got such a rich culture, and the people are so friendly. I think that's what we love about Romania.
Yeah, we went. You've been here for many years. We went for a random soak in the salt baths. So much on offer here as we look at the current standings. Lettenbichler. So this is, I believe, official as Lettenbichler now getting the edge on the timing front. So Gomez in second, Jarvis in third. But look at that, 8.5 Jarvis behind as we look at a bigger differential.
Tadej Blazusiak there, we saw him in fourth place, some 40 minutes behind, and Johnny Walker there at 47 minutes.
It's a massive gap, but what do you make of the back and forth? We were calling it Lettenbichler, obviously making up time, but now they're going to make their way back up into the hills. I mean, that is a tight window for Lettenbichler and Gomez.
Well, there's still a way to go, so it can still change. 44 seconds is not much at all, but yeah, pretty much guessed that the two of them within a minute. And that's just crazy. I mean, after more than 20 hours of racing, being separated by seconds, who's going to make it first? We'll just have to wait and see.
As Billy Bolt and the rest of the pack continue through Wolf's Nest, we will keep close look on that charge. Who will be crowned 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs champ? Will it be Lettenbichler? Will it be Gomez? As you can see the face of, wow. Billy Bolt, did you see just the shrug? With a little bit of a smirk, almost having a little fun with it.
Well, he's got his gloves back on now, and just behind him you can see Nathan Watson over there. But how slippery is this now? Okay, Billy got up there, okay. It's places like this after a couple of bikes have been through where a layer of mud gets put on the rock and it gets super slippery.
So those of you just joining us, we're in the final minutes of the gold class, the sport's top pros here at the mother of Hard Enduros, as Lettenbichler leading the charge. In second, Alfredo Gomez, and a very close back and forth. We are talking less than a 2-minute separation between these two riders. It is anyone's title at this point, and for Lettenbichler it would be a massive shot of adrenaline and ratings charge as he came into this event in second in the overall current WESS standings. Jarvis, as we pointed out, over 8 minutes behind plus, so he's definitely slipping back as the two, Lettenbichler and Gomez, that last solid push to the finish line.
And if Manny can take the win here, I can tell you him and his dad, they're going to go all out in the party tonight because of the, Andreas won it in 2009, and, to have Manny win it now, 2019, the two of them just 10 years apart will be something spectacular. Definitely something to celebrate.
And it's a great thing too. And you see it at a lot of the enduro events, but that you see second and even third generations where all the kids are on bikes. You even got, grandpa. And to see that father and son relationship between Andreas and Manny, and I think we were talking about it earlier. I might have been talking to Bolts about it, just how, Manuel Lettenbichler, he's seen how hard his dad has worked to do what he does. And he sees the hard work as we take a close peer in.
And he's about to drop into Gustarita now. You can see there how close it was. It was Gustarita on the left-hand side that we saw.
So trying to get the angles here as a little bit of a needle in the haystack here, finding some of these guys as they head into the trees. So aerial shots, great aerial shots provided by the heli crew as we look at our finish line just above the pit here as a
little glimpse of the Red Bull arch there, on top of the big hill climb before they got to turn down and go back down again.
And you just see how heavily wooded. Thankfully, dual GPS setups allow these guys. And there's a good shot of the finish area as All the fans unfazed by the rain, the mud, as these gladiators continue to push through Wolf's Nest. And the final laps with our bronze and silver class making their way into the finish area. As Lettenbichler currently for...
And this small little mistake over there. Nothing too bad though, just felt falling over.
So keep your eyes peeled on the rider in screen. Lettenbichler right now coming into this final section was leading Gomez over a minute and a half.
So calculating, of course, the time differentiation between Lettenbichler and Alfredo Gomez. We'll have to see now once Alfredo Gomez gets to the finish and they've corrected the times, just to see who's going to take the win here.
And an incredible tactical, subtle push on the hill just before that. Lettenbichler showing...
These are some of the difficult climbs that we were talking about a little bit earlier.
Showing a lot of wisdom early on in his career. Taking his time.
And this climb is super, super difficult. This is the one where Wade Young got hung up on last year. Is Manny going to clean it? Oh, almost. There's a rope ready. That's his dad on the top on the right-hand side there. Andreas Lettenbichler going to give him a hand, a final pull up. And this is so steep. If you had to stand down at the bottom and you'd say to yourself, there's no way you can ride a motorcycle up there. You've only got one shot at it.
Wow.
Luckily, there's a rope up there. He got as high as he could. He laid it down. Going to get the final pull up. But the clock's ticking.
How about the Husky? How about the Husky team stepping in too, offering help?
But remember the 44 seconds we got earlier, that we saw earlier. If Alfredo Gomez manages to clear this, has this been 44 seconds so far?
Wow. And right now, time is eating away at that lead that we saw Lettenbichler. This is critical right here. How quickly can he get up? How well is Gomez going to navigate a section that obviously is going to challenge every single pro that comes through here? Because you can say if Lettenbichler having problems with it, we can imagine the rest of the field is going to have just the same experience.
It's so nice to see the KTM and Husky boys helping each other out there. And I'm pretty sure they're going to do the same for Alfredo. But was that 44 seconds over there? We'll have to wait and see.
You do the math. I'm going to let you, Daryl. You're always good with square roots, dividing by pi.
44 seconds, but depends on how long, if Alfredo Gomez manages to clean it or not. There's this drop off over here. You can't ride it down. You've actually literally got to ride it off, almost like jump it down. Yeah,
a little bit of an air drop down
out of the shop there.
Yeah,
vertical ledge, very, very difficult to get down there.
So we are on the precipice of potential history here for Lettenbichler. Came in to the finish area with the lead. And just a minute and a half between him and Gomez when we last checked in. So it's going to come down to seconds here. Who is going to take the top spot?
All right, he's going to come in to the bottom of the hill climb now. And let's see if he can make it out all the way out the top to the top of the Gold Hill.
All eyes focused on Manuel Lettenbichler as he heads up the hill.
Nice solid jump. It's loose. Getting good drive. Is it going to be enough for the top? I don't think it is. That's not what he wanted.
Yeah, enough to turn around and come in from a side angle. If anyone can do it. We've seen Letty do this time and time again, though. Find an angle that doesn't seem possible.
Oh, and it's super, super slippery, and he goes down.
Like ice, you saw, as you pointed out, that section that we saw the previous rider.
Is he going to be able to ride it out?
Completely slick.
He's getting a bit of help over there. He's going to try to go out to the left and find some traction. He's got to get through the Red Bull arch.
Wow.
He's going to go back down. He's got to try it again. He's got no choice. Oh, and this is critical moments. That's not what you want to. That's not a place you want to be.
With every mistake for Manuel Lettenbichler, the clock continues to tick. The question is, where is Gomez? How close is he gaining? And is he going to have the same difficulty in these sections?
So the clock, of course, taking into account the differentiation with the start times this morning. That's why we're not seeing Alfredo Gomez yet. We'll only be able to see that once he crosses the finish line. The time is being lost and the clock is ticking.
Fans trying to make way.
The second time.
A second attempt for Manuel Lettenbichler. Checking the gears, and he's off. Trying to take a side route.
This could be a game changer for the race.
So a hill that we were looking at yesterday when it was dry, you were saying definitely able to be navigated by all these guys. You throw a little rain in the mix, once again. In that unfortunate equalizer, it really shows no favorites.
In the dry, it was a piece of cake, and with the wet, it's made it really, really, really difficult at the bottom. There's some quite deep ruts over there, but this is the problem part at the top. Once you take that top layer off, you can see how slick it is underneath.
So able to get around that side corner.
And the side, it just shows you how steep it is. You couldn't see it just now, but when you're standing in front of this hill, it is intimidating. It is so steep. The camera just simply doesn't do it justice. But there on that piece, we saw how steep this is.
So a quick sigh of relief for Lettenbichler as he is up top, but like I said, we will keep focus on what is just behind him, Gomez, how much time he can make up. You can see everyone on their feet as the rest of the gold class will start to make their way into the finish area, and how much time was lost and how much time can Gomez gain. That is going to decide who will take the title here at this year's Red Bull Romaniacs.
So a couple of levels down is going to turn right, and then there's another 3 steep climbs he's going to do. Well, it's 1 climb with 3 levels, and then it's over the seesaw and to the finish line. Will he be crowned the 2019 Romaniacs winner or not?
Well, and this is the thing. We have to wait. Gomez will have the final say on it. It will be all but unofficial. But looking back, and that first area, this is where the Husqvarna team kicking in with a couple of the KTM guys deciding to help out.
And there we have Alfredo Gomez coming into the arena now. And of course, time is everything.
So those of you that just watched went down for Manuel Lettenbichler. Every single feature, every single challenge. See now how Gomez and his success, this is going to write the final script for who gets to win here today.
This is the big decider on who's going to take the title, of how much work Alfredo Gomez has to use to get out these 2 sections. Will he clean them?
Yeah. Well, as we pointed out, leading into this, there was about a minute 30 dividing these two. Gomez turns it back around, and we saw Manny get caught right in this section. Same fate for Gomez. So now Gomez, he's going to have to rely on an assist and a pull up this final steep section of that first quick cliff band. And so same thing, it's a little bit quicker getting to the assist on this one.
Oh, but he's slipped on.
Oh, wow.
No, that's
wow.
not good. Is he going to be able to get back up again?
And just with that, you can add an extra 10, 15 seconds for Gomez. And we check back in. Manuel Lettenbichler, he's going to opt. Wow, precision personified. Lettenbichler, he charges through. The first to finish will wait for times to be assessed, but incredible.
What a great job.
What
there you
focus.
Can see Dad, Andreas, what a moment.
Andreas, his father, you can imagine the pride he won here 10 years ago. The smile says it all. He knows that Manuel Lettenbichler, his son, left it all on the playing field, and now Gomez is up, and it's all going to come down to these times and when it's official here. But Manuel Lettenbichler,
huge, of course,
looking for that first podium finish on the WESS Series. He talks about his father, everything he knows. He said he learned from his dad, that incredible back and forth. And yes, Lettenbichler looking for that first win on the WESS Series. As eyes are focused on Gomez, is he going to have just as much trouble with that steeper hill climb? Keep your eyes focused on him. We'll keep you updated on the final times. But for the moment, it is looking good for Lettenbichler. So what should Gomez do at this point? We saw just how slick it is up there.
If Gomez can clean this, it's going to be a huge moment.
Yeah.
For as far as times go. But he's struggling. He's not going to have enough momentum to get.
Wow, not even to that first ledge.
Pretty much the same boat as Manny.
Manny was able to get at least to the plateau. And you can see Letty in the corral. Little rest, little time for a Red Bull.
You can see body language there. You can see how tired Alfredo is. I mean, these guys have pushed more than 20 hours of hard enduro riding. I think they are spent. There's not much left in the tank at the moment. And a climb like this out at the end is just that last. I mean, the Manny's looking on there. See how Alfredo gets on. You know how he struggles.
Well, for Gomez, as we pointed out, here at Romaniacs back in 2015, he grabbed a third. In 2016, a second. He has never grabbed a win. Here's what's at stake, but here's what lies in front of him. To the left of your screen, Gomez, he needs to get up that. And with every failed attempt, the clock winds down and it goes to the favor of the gentleman to the right of your screen, none other than Manuel Lettenbichler. And with a win here today, Manuel Lettenbichler, as he's also known as, would catapult to the top of the standings. And Gomez able to get into that pocket where he's able to transfer.
I don't think one's faster than the other at the moment, Pat. This is going to go down to the wire.
Yeah, it is down to seconds. Every mistake is amplified at this point for Gomez. And you can imagine Manny's got to be thinking back at every single thing I did right, everything I did wrong.
And these guys are so tired at this point, man. And if these guys are struggling like this, you must know what the rest of the gold field's going to do up here. If these riders, I mean, first and second here at Romaniacs are struggling like this.
Just pins and needles for Lettenbichler as he's going to wait for Gomez to come in and see what the differential is. Those of you just tuning in, watching Gomez right now, Alfredo Gomez coming in towards the finish. He's made it up that big climb. Just a couple of features left for him. And we will let you know when it's all but official. Following outside of that, last time we checked in, it was Jarvis out the back with a time growing. Jarvis looking solid leading into this fourth day of off-road, fifth day of competition, but definitely slowed down towards the tail end. And eyes peeled as Gomez continues to wind down the last few turns, as he'll have two options before he approaches the finish line. That teeter-totter section, or that fine line. I was pretty impressed with Lettenbichler's just casual approach, the focus being that tired, and just like there's no qualms.
Well, Alfredo's made a mistake there.
And a section that didn't seem to phase
That's the three levels I was talking about on the far side. So he's gone up the first level, needs to go up the second level. See if he's going to make it.
Gomez.
Valuable seconds being lost over here.
With every second to rest. Oh, wow.
No.
And this right here,
he hasn't done it.
And with that could spell defeat for Gomez and a victory for Lettenbichler, as Lettenbichler going through and checking the times. They're trying to get the updates even as we approach. And Gomez struggling to even get to his bike. And something as innocuous as this last section that we saw Lettenbichler and even a few other competitors kind of eye this. And when we looked at it yesterday, when it was dry, a no-brainer.
I can't think of anything worse for Alfredo right now. You can see that he's spent. His body is tired, and he can't get to his motorcycle. This is unfair. This is a cruel world of hard enduro. I cannot think of anything worse. I'm actually gutted for him. I'm bleeding right now. He's literally going to have to throw his bike back down. The foot peg's wedged on a rock.
Well, Lettenbichler still that humble, that positive approach as he looks on, obviously. He knows Gomez definitely put so much into this race. We can assume with this much time eaten up for Gomez, definitely handing the victory to Manuel Lettenbichler, but we'll see as he'll have to muster everything left in the reserve tank at this point. You can only imagine 5 days of competition. Started with the prologue on Tuesday. Not official yet, but the Lettenbichler camp is already celebrating And you can imagine the elation just looking on to come down to the final finish area.
Yeah, he knows he's got it. Too much time lost there. Alfredo still has to turn around and have another shot at it. He's not up yet. You could see how steep. That second climb is literally like a wall. Manuel Lettenbeckler knows it. We'll have to wait for the official results, of course, but Gomez still has to get up and make his way to the finish.
Wow.
And he doesn't make it again.
And this is just the brutality that Romaniacs has come to deliver time and time again. A rider of Gomez's level in this one section just punishing. Just a complete slap in the face when you look at the performance he has put through from start to finish, or I would say start to almost finish.
We can't forget about third place Graham Jarvis at the moment. There was that 8 minutes window. 8 minutes, and we've already lost a couple over here.
And this would be
continues to struggle. He might be in real trouble here.
Well, keep your eyes peeled too. Yeah, they don't call him the silent assassin for any for any random reason, because Graham Jarvis, he's been known to strike. And that.
Yes, he's done it. He's up.
And he is up. So. Third / fourth time is a charm for Gomez, but vital time lost as he'll have to make his way. Just a little extra insult as Romaniacs, as we say, doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, it just delivers an equal punishment to all. As Alfredo Gomez works his way into the last feature, and he'll opt for that ever so perfect balance, showing the precision. So Gomez, he is through at this year's Romaniacs, and we'll wait for times to become official, but I think we can say, based on the celebration within the Lettenbeckler camp, that all but official. It looks like Lettenbeckler taking the top spot. What a performance from Alfredo Gomez. Some great back and forth. As we pointed out, you can't write a better script. You love to see that kind of ebb and flow, the elastic back and forth with the lead.
And the thing is that he worked so hard all the way home back to Sibiu to try and bridge that gap, and then threw it away all on that last climb. Heart-wrenching stuff, but great action for the fans as we're waiting for our next rider to appear.
And you'd have to think it was obviously by
Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's coming now. He's obviously just twisted his front wheel a little bit there, put the bike down as he tackles the climb. Let's see if he manages to clear it. He knows what he has to do. He's got it pinned. There's somebody in the way there. Oh, and Graham Jarvis goes over the bars, jumping off that ledge. Has he hurt himself? Looks okay. He's getting up. That was a big jump. You can see there, that's the ledge that I was talking about earlier, where you can't really ride it off. You've got to jump it off.
No, I mean, it's reminiscent of a sand pit at that point, but let's take a closer look. A little commitment, a little huck and hope on just a sheer drop.
And the front just
front tire
dug in and straight over the bars.
Well, bad news for the front tire, maybe better news that he landed in such soft dirt.
But not a nice way to finish the Romaniacs.
So some good back and forth between Walker and Jarvis as well. As Jarvis taking a hard hit there, he'll work his way towards the finish. What a performance, as we'll keep our eyes focused. It is now official. You are looking at your 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs champion, Manuel Lettenbeckler. Finally finds the podium, and on a day that's extra special, his dad, Andreas Lettenbeckler, won here 10 years ago. It is a family affair here at Romaniacs for the Lettenbecklers. What a day. Celebration is going to be in order here in Sibiu, but we'll shift right back to gears because it is a battle. It's never ending here at Red Bull Romaniacs as Jarvis, he'll start to power up and shows his prowess. No problem for Jarvis.
You can see how unforgiving this race is Graham is covered in sand and mud. They've had one of the hardest days of their lives here today. It's been relentless, and what a feeling to come into the arena and know that it's so close to the finish line. But he still has to get up the final hill.
What? Wow.
Unbelievable.
Do you have any words for that?
That's unbelievable.
44, just want to point out 44, the silent assassin, the Carpathian king, just showing that he still has a rightful place here. Look at the amazing skill set, the ability.
Well, if anybody can find traction where there's none, it's Graham Jarvis.
Unbelievable just a show of ability and just a relaxed approach on day 5 of competition after taking a good little toss in the sand.
That was phenomenal. As you're watching him out the window of our commentary booth, what a great view out there.
Yeah.
It started to clear up. The rain has stopped. The sun looks like it might start peeking out. It's turning out to be a beautiful day here in Costa Rica.
Well, what we do have in terms of the results as they start to come in, Graham Jarvis, the gentleman you're watching, was leading the WESS standings coming into this stop. Now with Lettenbichler with the win, Lettenbichler will climb to the top. Jarvis still close into the hunt as we look at the final stops of the 2019 WESS season. This is nowhere near from over. It's definitely going to give Lettenbichler the edge, but hats off to Jarvis. A lot of people were writing him off. They were saying, you know what? Maybe he's not feeling it mid-season, but he has maintained such an unbelievable pace.
And Graham cleaning that section. What a great job he did over there.
And we can also expect Gomez. Well, he came into this WESS Series stop in 4th place, so he'll catapult up a bit. I would believe Jarvis will end up in 3rd, as Jarvis knows it's not all over yet. There's still a little bit of navigating to do here. He has such an uncanny ability to make that bike move in the direction he wants it to.
Yeah, and as you can see that section, how super slick it is, these downhills. This is what the guys have been riding all day, every day here at the Romaniacs, especially today with the wet conditions.
So Graham Jarvis, 6-time winner here at Red Bull Romaniacs. He approaches the final feature into the finish line. He can definitely hold his head up high. Some incredible back and forth with the top of the field, was maintaining, staying in step with Gomez and Lettenbichler. He finishes and adds yet another finish to his Romaniacs resume. Great job by Jarvis. Walker and the rest of the field taking a well-deserved breather. As you can imagine, the exhaustion, the mental fatigue, everything that's culminated over 5 days. You've been here. What's this feeling like?
Oh, there's nothing better. And I think, Graham, you can see by the look on Johnny Walker's face there that he had a great day. You know, he was struggling yesterday. He hated yesterday. And I think he had such a good ride out there today. He's got to be happy with that.
Well, for someone that was looking for grip in the city of Cebu yesterday, he found it here today. Came out swinging on the final day of competition. But shifting gears back, you know, looking back, it's the Manuel Lettenbichler show here at the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs. His dad, Andreas Lettenbichler, did it 10 years ago. And for Letty, he finally finds the podium at a WESS stop. A well-deserved victory, and what a place to do it here at Romaniacs in the Carpathian Mountains. Let's hear from our winner, Manuel Lettenbichler.
Manny, even by Red Bull Romaniac standards, today's racing looked incredibly punishing.
Yeah, it was gnarly, like with all the rain, it made it so tough, and the one uphill what we made, like the impossible, like also where the TV crew were, it was just ridiculous, like so slippery, and like I'm just happy to be here. Like I can't really describe it. Like we done the job, and it was 4 days, like a hard fight with the other guys. The pace was so high, so
I'm just over the moon.
And it's your first victory on the WESS Series. You took that Getson victory last year, but how much does this one mean?
It just means everything. Like, it's such a big achievement. Like, to win Red Bull Romaniacs is one of the hardest races in the world, and it's completely different. So it's winning races here and winning Romaniacs is like over it. So I'm so happy.
And as Pat Parnell, the commentator, said, it's now a family affair.
It's a family, yeah.
Thank you so much, Manny.
Cheers, man.
Thank you, Ed. And I think the emotion, I think Manuel Lettenbichler, always, cool, steady. Always, yeah, I do apologize for the graphics mistake there, but Lettenbichler's always just such a positive force in the sport of enduro. But let's talk about Gomez for a second, if we can. Daryl, in terms of his performance, it came down right to this arena that we mentioned yesterday. Oh, this isn't really going to decide anything here. But in the end, this was the great equalizer, as we're still waiting for times to be official for second. We do know first, but talk about Gomez for a second, what he left on the playing field today.
I think you can see how absolutely gutted he is. He was so close, and he knew that he had a shot in for it. We've just got confirmation officially that Alfredo Gomez has finished second overall at the Romaniacs. But I mean, it came so close. It was down to the wire, and it was down to that last little climb over there that really just sucked that last minute out, wasn't it, Pat?
To come down to that point, yeah, we mentioned he's grabbed a third here, a second, and the one last place that was missing in the notch of his Romaniacs tool belt was first place. And you can imagine the disappointment, but he can hold his head up high. Let's hear from Alfredo Gomez.
Alfredo, over 20 hours of racing, and it's come down to seconds here for the podium positions.
Yeah, it was a good race. First day wasn't really good. The second day was really good feeling with the bike. Yesterday also, and today also. Manny rode very well. We were fighting all the race, so congrats to him. He did a good job. Probably I lose the race here in the last uphills, trying to be as quick as possible, but that's racing. So thanks to everyone who helped me, especially my team. They did a very good job, and nothing. Coming back next year stronger.
Do you think that the classic Spanish summer conditions here helped you?
Nah, not much. Was so muddy today and raining a lot and cold. So, but anyway, it's racing. It's the same conditions for everyone. I enjoyed the race, and coming back next year stronger. Being the podium is always good. So happy.
Thank you so much, Alfredo.
Thanks, Ed. Wow, just the facial expression of Alfredo, it really says it all. It almost hurts a little bit, Daryl.
Yeah, he's a bridesmaid this year, and not the first time. Of course, he was second in 2016 as well.
Yeah.
He wants to come back and get the top step of the podium. He wants to win this race.
You can bet he is going to come back in 2020 with all guns a-blazing. And Red Bull Romaniacs is one of those events. It leaves a little bit of a sting. But the big question coming into this year was Graham Jarvis. He's won this event 6 times. He was looking for a 7th. It wasn't to be. Let's hear from Jarvis.
Graham, talk me through it. Just how hard was today?
Yeah, it was the hardest day. It rained, there was tough tracks. There was a lot of pushing, and I'm just glad to get to the finish. I was going good to the service point, and then I had a crash and lost my GPSs. So I was relying on other people to navigate me back, so lost a load of time there.
And that's why you were tucked in behind Johnny on those final stages.
Yeah, that's it. I just had to try and tag along with people, but then, it's so easy to get lost. I followed Taddy for a bit, and then he just disappeared, and then I just got lost, and then, followed the wrong track, and it was a disaster.
The drop-off at the end here caused you a couple of problems as well.
Big crash. Just sent it a bit too far, landed too hard, front dug in the sand, and I was over the bars.
But you're still the only person to go right up over the top of the big climb.
Oh, fantastic. At least I did summit today.
Graham, thank you so much. 3rd place confirmed.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, Ed. And wow, he is not a silent assassin. He is a Jedi. No GPS. He figures a way out. Graham Jarvis continues to defy the expected and unexpected, all rolled into one. Congrats goes to him. And that brings us to our overall WESS standings after today's event. On top, Manuel Lettenbichler, Graham Jarvis in 2nd, and Alfredo Gomez in the hunt rounding out the top 3. So things continue to intensify as we march forward to the 2019 WESS season. Very, very exciting stuff, and we want to encourage everyone, stay close here. When we return to the Carpathian Mountains in the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs, it is the Red Bull post show. You do not want to miss it. And a vision of a celebratory 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs champion, none other than Manuel Lettenbichler. On such a special day, his father Andreas to the left of him, he won it back in 2009. And as we say, the family affair vibes are running strong here in the Carpathian Mountains. Such incredible lineage, proving that hard work and keeping it with the family, the focus, the fortitude, paying dividends for Manuel Lettenbichler, finally finds his podium finish on the WESS Series. Are we seeing a shift? Will we see Lettenbichler dominance? We'll have to see as the rest of the series unfolds. As we highly anticipate now the awards ceremony, the Romanian revelry, as we like to call it. The fans have come out in force, and committed fans they are, Daryl. I want to point out, it was a rainforest here earlier today, a mud bog, and they have come out in droves to show their support. Such dedicated fans, not scared to get wet and not scared to get muddy.
And rightfully so. You saw the amount of action we had here at the end. I mean, it's just well worth braving a little bit of wet weather for this. And the WESS Championship is going to become really interesting from here on, Pat, because we've got Hawkstone Park right after this, which is a cross-country. Solsona, a classic enduro, which both favor many.
Yeah.
And then the Getson Rodeos at the end, a hard enduro, which favors Graham again.
So put on your clairvoyant helmet, if you will. How do you see things unfolding now with the scales tipping? And let's talk about the confidence of winning this one for Manuel Lettenbichler.
It's huge. As we said earlier, we were talking about the pivotal point of WESS, and I think this is it. Manuel's going to have so much confidence. He's going to be so amped now for the rest of the series.
Can we lay to rest too the discussion that maybe Jarvis doesn't have enough in the tank in like at 44? I'm just in terms of like the wisdom and the finesse that he illustrates. He just proves time and time again. All the skeptics, all the critics. He's got so much more left, and he's really defying what was normally kind of that last threshold of when you were a contender.
He's done it every year, just when everybody thinks he's done. He came back and he won Erzberg and Xpenia, but he missed Treff at the beginning of the year, which might catch him out now in the championship, going into another 2 races that don't favor him. So as far as the WESS points go, I think Graham's in a little bit of trouble.
Okay, looking into those final events. Looking at the final 3 stops, so would Graham be a contender, you would say, at Getson?
Definitely at Getson, but the other 2, Hawkstone and Solsona, he's going to have his work cut out for him.
Yeah,
he just doesn't like the fast stuff.
And just a reminder, all of you viewers that have been kind enough to stay with us as we anxiously await the awards ceremony, all the rest of the classes, bronze and silver, continuing to make their way into the finish area here, and they're battling with the same hill, the same mud, the same conditions. And a pretty stellar attempt right there, Daryl.
But the more and more bikes that are going up now, it's getting worse and worse. I mean, it's so loose. It's like it's starting to get almost powdery at the moment. Less and less traction now from earlier.
Yeah.
We've still got a lot of gold riders to come up this hill.
And want to encourage everyone, too, to hop onto iRideWESS.com, get the updated results as we continue to wind down an incredible 5 days of competition. You can imagine the streets of Sibiu tonight are going to be, it's going to be full send. It's going to be 6 gear, completely pinned.
Typical Romanian style. They've got a big pool party lined up for the guys, so I think everybody's really looking forward to that.
Oh, good times to unwind here as we get ready for the award ceremony. And as we pointed out, we'll be checking back in with Ed Lee and Paul Bolton as the post-show continues. Quick reflections on the week, everything that we've witnessed from day one, from the prologue to an incredible back and forth finish on day 4 of the off-road.
Look, it's been a fantastic event. We've had such close racing, and what a show by Martin van Ardemet and his team. You know, there's over 400 people at the event, managing everything, managing the tracks, making sure that everything works properly. And you know, if it wasn't for that amount of effort and dedication to make this event work, it wouldn't have been the huge success that it is here today. And what a great racing platform for the best hard enduro riders in the world.
I was a bit gutted with Wade Young out. I had definitely high hopes for Wade. You know, you come in with the bullseye on your back, and you know, the expectation, and you know, really riding like kind of back into the flow and form that we expect from Wade Young.
Yeah, I put him down for a win here. I had Manny as my second, and I had Mario Roman as a third. But you know, Graham Jarvis told me before the race that he had a mid-year burnout, so I counted him out.
Oh, you had wait, you had inside intel? You what?
Mistake. Never count Graham Jarvis out, because you know, making the podium now at 44 years old at this race, one of the hardest races on the calendar, especially over 5 days, just shows that he's nowhere near done with his career.
I believe Letty's at what? How is he? 21, 22? Like, do the math. It's right around that zone. I got to do the in terms of his birthday, but it's literally half the age. Half the age.
Yeah, well, Manny's 21 years old, so he's less than half the age of Graham Jarvis, and that just shows respect in my book.
Yeah, and there's our Paul Bolton. Have a good laugh.
A good catch-up there, of course. Paul being absolutely gutted, still recovering from his knee injury, but he would absolutely love to have raced this year.
It's been a hard year for Paul Bolton with the injury and the surgery, but a big congrats to him and his wife. They've got a lovely boy addition to the family, Zach. As Graham Jarvis starts to make his way up to the podium, a well-deserved third-place finish. Can he even make it? Are the cramps starting to set in? How did you? Come on, did you?
That is cool. They're saying to him, no, that's the way, buddy. You got to get up there. We'll help you out. Come stand on this. Andy Fazekas giving him a knee.
I mean, that's you can speak to this. Where your body's at when you cross the finish line.
His body's finished.
You're literally holding on for dear life.
Yeah.
This is climbing like a 514 right here.
And he's having a good laugh too, because he knows it. The body does not work the way it used to work.
You'd love to see the smile when it comes across Graham's face. Wow. Congratulations goes to Graham Jarvis, your third-place finisher at the 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs. What a performance he delivered.
What an accomplishment.
Yeah. And the Crusher, as we pointed out, just up to this final day was racing a flawless Romaniacs campaign. Alfredo Gomez, your second-place finisher, down to the wire, and like we said, right in the arena here with all the fans watching. It was those last few hills, those micro climbs, what would you call that? I mean, we're talking just sheer meters that separated him between Manuel Lettenbichler. Came down to seconds.
The sheer steepness of the climbs there just made for such and I've just watched somebody launch their bike above there. The guys are still coming. Those climbs are really unique. They are super extreme.
The show continues here in Romania, and there he is as he makes his way to the top. None other. His first WESS podium on the top spot. It is none other than Manuel Lettenbichler, your 2019 Red Bull Romaniacs champion. What an amazing day for all three of these competitors and the rest of the field as we look at the final results of our gold class competition. Jarvis in third, Gomez in second, and Manuel Lettenbichler grabbing the top spot. Yeah. So obviously, I think it's time for some bubbles. What do you say, Daryl?
That one was a bit premature there. Old Graham lost his cork already.
Okay. There we go. Oh, come on.
Graham, come on, guys.
There we go.
For
there it is. The champagne is popped. It is official. And there is our podium at this year's sweet 16th running of the Red Bull Romaniacs. Daryl, it has been an honor to sit in the booth and call this year's Romaniacs, and the post-show continues as we once again check in with Ed Lee.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sterling work in the commentary box there. Thank you very, very much. We're here with Andreas Lettenbichler and Paul Bottoms back with me for the post-show. Letty, 10 years after your first victory here, Manny has finally done his first victory on WESS. An emotional day.
Yeah, the only thing what I can say, I'm the proudest dad in the world now, and was a really, really hard work for everybody, also for us, for the service crew, and yeah, he did it first time, you know.
Phenomenal. Paul, you've done this race more than 10 times now. Put in perspective how hard today was.
Literally, on days like this, everything needs to go right. You know, Manny paced himself absolutely perfectly. It was a race on, even in here. We just saw Letty counting the seconds literally to the finish line. It was so exciting, but he's nailed it, and congratulations to the other guys as well. What an amazing Red Bull Romaniacs.
Now, last night we came and saw you in the paddock, and we came away. I said, Letty looked really relaxed. Bolt said, no way, he was nervous. Were you?
Yeah, you know, it looks like I'm relaxed, but I'm always nervous, and yeah. Thank you for everything. Thank you to all my sponsors, or to our sponsors. Thanks to KTM and Red Bull, Michelin, and dream comes true, and we have 2 trophies at home now with 2 number 1s. Thank you.
Congratulations, Letty. It's been phenomenal. Thank you so much, Paul. Time for us to say goodbye from here in Sibiu, Romania, but we're going to leave you with all of the highlights from today's action. Thank you for watching.